Broadcasting live from the fan fiction section in the Great Library of Solana. This is Friday Night CC here at beautiful Gamers Gambit here in downtown Lake City. We've got an exciting game set up for us tonight. We've got a Kassai squaring off against a Teklovossen. We see a saber swing here from Kassai, followed up by a Blade Runner and a hit and run. We'll see another saber swing coming in. Quite a bit of damage represented here on this saber. It was Teklovossen known for being able to cover up lots of damage. Blocks firewall. Considering his options, and we see a sink below from Arsenal. Does he sink a card? See Dillon on Teklovossen here choosing to sink a card, drawing a card into his hand. Managing to cover up all of that damage there going into his turn. See Ryan here on Kassai drawing up to pass, and we just see a leveler shove pitching 2, coming in for a humble 2 damage. Ryan takes a moment, considers his arsenal. Looks like he puts the dynamos in front of that, opting to take 1 damage. These dynamos very important to the Kassai's gameplay strategies. Provided she can swing twice, she'll just be getting free life every single turn as she continues to remove that counter. We see 2 outland skirmishes being played here, followed up by a hit and run. This is going to be a pretty hefty sword swing. See, coming in with the Centauri Saber first. Pause for a moment thinking about that hot streak before coming in. We have got a Saber for 7 here. That's quite a bit of damage on a Saber. We'll see if Teklo can manage to cover it up. Known for blocking pretty well here. We might see no hit on this first swing. See, blocking with the arms. We got an attack reaction coming in, bumping up that Saber to an even 9. Into the defense reactions, we see a Fate Foreseen. Dillon pauses for a moment to opt, chooses to put that card back on top. Another Fate Foreseen. Thinks about it again, puts the card back on top, manages to cover up all of that damage. Ryan here follows up with a swing of that hot streak. See Dillon contemplating here whether he blocks or whether he keeps those cards in hand. We're going to see a card from hand and a block with the his headpiece there. The Evo Steel Soul Memory. Putting a -1 counter on that, he manages to cover up that pretty hefty turn from Ryan. Unfortunately, that consumed every card in his hand, so he can only draw up and pass back. We're going to see Kassai continue this assault, not having to worry about adding a counter to her boots anymore. We see an slice and dice being played here. Ryan pauses for a moment, thinks about what to pitch. Really looking to get the maximum value you can. Take Teklo's turns off here. Really trying to make it so he can't pay for those expensive pieces of equipment. Once Teklo gets suited up, then we have to worry about things like singularity and being able to more efficiently block sabers. We see a saber come in. Dillon opts to take the damage. That's followed up with an attack reaction Blade Runner, giving the sword go again. Interesting call by Dillon. It's a smart heads-up play, not blocking the hot streak with an attack action to give that weapon go again. Here, forcing Ryan to use his reaction to give the go again. And we see a follow-up here. Centauri Saber coming in for 5. Oh, 7 damage. Oh, yep, because of the points, are because of the boost off of that Blade Runner. See a firewall here. Card goes to the bottom. Dillon takes a chunk of life, down to 34. Does manage to keep some cards in his hand. It looks like 3 cards going to be fired back here from the Teklo. See a junkyard dog being played, scrapping that piece of equipment there. And this is kind of what Teklo wants to do. He wants to get his Evos into the banish zone as soon as he can, using things that scrap them out, like these junkyard dogs, getting that extra value, coming in for 7. and looking to hold on to some cards eventually on his turn to be able to play those pieces of equipment from Arsenal. The equipment really helps Teklo out to block very efficiently, having temper 3 on each of those. We see Ryan opting to shove his boots in his arms as well as a slice and dice from hand to cover up a good chunk of that Junkyard Dog damage. We have a draw up from Dillon, and we'll see Ryan coming back on his turn with a 3-card hand. Nothing in Arsenal to speak of. We'll see a Blood on our hands pitched into a Nourishing Emptiness. Now, this is a Nourishing Emptiness. It will have Dominate here. So this is 6 Dominate and threatening to set Ryan up for a potentially massive turn next time around. This will increase his hero's intelligence, allowing him to arsenal that card that's still remaining in hand and be able to draw up to 5, letting him play a 6-card hand and threaten lots of damage into Head Judge Dillon here. Now, this Nourishing Emptiness will have Dominate. Ryan has yet to play any attack actions this turn, and we don't see any banished currently. So this will be a dominated Nourishing Emptiness coming in. Dillon taking his time, really thinking about how to block this. He really doesn't want to see Kassai with a 6-card hand going into the turn. We see a Fate Foreseen here, opting to leave that card on top, and we will cover up all of that. Taking no life there. Dillon's got a pressure. Keep Kassai off of these 5-card hands. We see a CNC. That's the card to do it, folks. With 2 floating resources here, is Dillon potentially representing a pummel in his arsenal there? That would be an interesting play out of a Teklo to do the classic CNC pummel, but we do see the resources floating for it. Ryan wisely putting equipment in front of that to block. Dillon does nothing. Gives us the thumbs up. Potentially, was he bluffing? Looks like they're calling it a game here, folks. That would be our first round of practice here as we get ready to start up our Friday night CC event. And welcome back to the booth. It's just me flying solo tonight. Kittens is out of town. So it's just Goose here on the mic for our event tonight. We're looking to get started here in just a few minutes. We're waiting on some players to trickle in. Classic TCG players, always a little bit late. So we'll be getting started here in just a few moments, folks. In the meantime, let me get situated. I'll be pulling up chat. We're looking to have a good time tonight, folks. Not as many rounds as the last time I've been here casting in the past, but in between rounds, I'll do my best to bring some players up, interview them, let them talk about the decks they love, and we're in for a good time, a good, nice, casual night of classic construction as we prepare here for our upcoming ProQuest that will be on May 3rd. May 3rd, folks, here in Lake City, Michigan. If you are looking to play in a ProQuest, that one is coming up May 3rd. It'll be set to be a great time. Lake City is a huge hub for Flesh and Blood in northern Michigan. We expect to see a ton of people here. It'll be a great opportunity for folks that might not have had a chance to get into a ProQuest yet this season. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Friday night CC event here at Gamers Gambit in downtown Lake City, Michigan. We are set for 3 rounds of Classic Constructed Fab tonight. Looking to be very exciting games as we get ready for our upcoming ProQuest on May 4th. We're getting ready to pair round one right now. I will cut it over to the stream as soon as the players are set and ready to roll here. Um, Very casual event tonight. We're looking for casual REL. We're just practicing decks for the upcoming ProQuest. Don't expect to see 100% perfect plays here, but if we do notice any errors, I will get a hold of our head judge Dillon, who is working tonight. Uh, he will correct any mistakes that we come across. Looking into game one, we see that we're going to actually feature head judge Dillon here. He's on a very spicy Teklovossen brew, and he will be squaring off against Micky. Micky, rumor has it, is on a Victor build. So we're here to see a grindy, more attrition-y based matchup here as we go into our first game. We might be here for the full time. If we're not, I will be looking to interview anybody that has won their first round after this. So stay tuned for some maybe spicy deck techs uh, and other cool hot takes regarding the upcoming set uh, that we as we approach spoiler season. We're letting the players get set up here. Looking to see a little bit of pre-boarding action here now. From what I understand of Teklovossen, it's a very grindy focused deck. A lot of defense reactions, a lot of looking to play the long game, get his uh, Evo Sentry pieces of equipment set up here. For Victor, we see Dillon. One moment as Dillon shows us his Dromai sleeves. Known Dromai enjoyer is Dillon. Pretty sad to see her go. Victor, we're looking to see a grindier gameplay too. Maybe a few clashes as we go. It would seem to be pretty profitable for the Victor. Guardian attacks known to be pretty big, and Teklovossen doesn't always play a ton of attack actions. So we might see quite a bit of gold generation off of these clashes. Players are rolling up. It would appear that Micky won that die roll here, so we'll await and see what they choose to do. Variety of sleeves on display here. We see some Oldham sleeves, some Azalea sleeves, a couple of Dromai sleeves around. It's pretty cool how Flesh and Blood does these different hero-based sleeves. It really allows you to identify with your hero, um, get into the different kind of cosplay, but not exactly cosplay aspects of the game. To really kind of choose your own adventure, kind of high fantasy type setting that we see. It would appear that Head Judge Dillon here is done with his pre-boarding. Didn't look like he made very many changes to his deck versus we see Micky here doing a little bit of extra thought, taking a little bit of extra care, maybe worried about the fatigue aspect of this matchup. Important to note that the clock is running, so Micky's got to make some decisions pretty fast here in order to preserve what's going to be on the clock. We're looking to avoid draws as much as we can tonight, but they unfortunately sometimes aren't avoidable. Both players are going to have to play fast, and they're going to have to play tight here. Dillon presents his deck for cut. Micky's still making a few more decisions about what to pre-board. It's always tough pre-boarding in Flesh and Blood. Unlike other games, you're not playing best of three here. It's just best of one. So you have to make your crucial decisions before you know anything about the opponent's deck. Now, that matters sometimes for different heroes like Dory or Dash, who can have multiple game plans. It makes it a little bit more tough. You have to know, maybe get a soul read on your opponent uh, as we go. Now, chat, if you notice anything wrong, anything like that, feel free to point it out, but no promises that I'll go in and immediately correct it. We'll try and get things addressed between rounds here. Let me know if there's any audio issues or any echoes as well. We can do our best to adjust, do some monitoring and things like that. Looking like our players are almost just about ready to go here. Micky making the last few sideboarding decisions, or pre-boarding decisions rather. We're looking to see a good grindy matchup here to start off our night. Now, game plans as far as this go, Teklo is going to try their best to set up their nice blocking equipment. Teklo blocks very well once they get rolling, but it takes a minute to get there. The temper 3 on their equipment really tends to balance that. We see Dillon setting up a round timer, and we are good to go. 50 minutes on the clock. Both players can see Micky making just the last few sideboarding decisions, and we'll be ready to roll. Notably, we see a pummel over there off to the side, Micky giving away a little bit of free information. Perhaps they're not planning on playing a super aggressive build of Victor. Maybe we're planning on grinding it out here, folks. Siding out those pummels. Very interesting decision on Micky's part. As the players get ready to reveal their equipment decisions here, we await very patiently for players to make their decisions. Um, as we go, still no cuts, still making the last bits of shuffle, still a little bit of sideboarding decisions here as we see Dillon Ainsley wait, notably taking his time to both write down life totals and use the iPad for that, just in case there's any bit of discrepancies. That's just a hallmark of a head judge. Other heroes that we know about throughout the tournament today, it looks like there's an Azalea floating around. I've heard rumors of a Katsu, a Kassai here tonight. Of course, you see there's Victor and Teklo. Uh, there's potential for maybe some more aggressive assassin builds like we saw a few weeks ago, the last time I was here casting. Um, it's really anybody's meta right now with Dromai hitting Living Legend status. Uh, is really wide open. It unlocks quite a few decks. Nobody has to run as many poppers anymore. They don't have to worry about the big bad Dromai looming at the top of the meta. They do have to worry a little bit about Prism here and there. It's yet to be seen whether or not Prism's going to be a fully meta deck or not. It really just depends on how consistently this ALS loop that they've been rumored to be presenting, how consistently they can get that off with staying at a reasonable life total. We see some cuts here. Our players are going to draw up our victor here, Micky, revealing a Sledge of Anvilheim, a Findall Spring Tunic, a Crown of Providence. And, so we're looking to see quite a grindy matchup. Teklo, nothing too surprising here. A full set of Cogworks. It might not be visible on camera, but I believe that it is a cold foiled out set of Cogworks equipment, alongside of a Teklo level here. A very blinged out player is Dillon. So your players take their time to consider. Micky pitches and pushes Sledge. Now, Dillon, it's turn 0 for anybody not familiar with Flesh and Blood. This is one of the only turns that both players will be drawing up. It's the only turn in the game. So Dillon gets a free chance to block out damage here, filter his hand a little bit. We see him activate Teklo's ability here, pitching a blue and playing his Evo Sentry Towers, or Steel Soul Towers rather, to his leg position. This is huge for Dillon here. It sets up that Temper 3 blocking equipment really well. Is crucial to Teklo's gameplay, especially if we get to a singularity. And then drawing into another towers here, blocking 3. It's going to take 3 damage off of that Sledge. Micky opting to Arsenal here. No go again on the Sledge. Choosing to keep 1 card in hand. Dillon's drawing up to 4. Had a chance to filter here. We'll see if he was able to sculpt a good hand. Maybe see another piece of equipment come down. Maybe set up for another turn, or maybe just come in with an attack. Micky's sitting on an Arsenal. 5-card hand potentially coming in on next turn. Taking a moment to explain a little bit of a discrepancy regarding Head Judge Dillon's graveyard here. Playing with 4 cards here as Teklo, you really want to see a piece of equipment of some sort. Uh, you don't always as super efficiently use your resources here. We're going to see a Steel Soul Memory being played here, pitching the rest of his script to play here, and that's honestly ideal for Teklo here. Not letting Micky get a chance to block any damage, not stripping any cards from Mickey's hand, but he is setting up. He effectively has 6 more, or he effectively has 6 more life on the board now by playing his equipment. These blue blocking equipment having temper 3, and then getting him one step closer to a big singularity play. Passes the turn back to Mickey, not being able to preserve an arsenal here just because of the prohibitive cost of these equipment, but he might not even be looking to set up anyways. Like I was mentioning, Teklo doesn't always want to be on 4 cards unless they have an equipment in hand to pay for. Otherwise, they don't. They're not a boost dash, for example. They're not getting a ton of workout. We're going to see an anvil put or a sledge of Anvilheim pushed here, pitching 2 cards. Going to be coming in for 6. Gonna come in for 6 here. Dillon's pretty happy to block that. Puts 3 in front, move to reactions here. Mickey's got 2 cards. Dillon opting to Fate Foreseen. We'll see if he chooses to keep. He keeps it on top, covering up 7 out of that 6, so he takes no damage here. And this is the kind of gameplay we're in for tonight, folks. Between these 2 decks, it's going to be a very grindy, attrition-based game. We're going to see players try and set up as best they can in order to have larger pop-off turns to really swing the tide of or the tempo of the game. We're going to see a leveler push here. This will be coming in for 2 damage. We'll see if Mickey wants to preserve their life total, if they're here to block out. Maybe their cards in hand aren't going to be super effective at attacking next turn. The thing with Guardians and the thing with Teklovossen is you don't always use all of your resources as efficiently as you can. We will see a block out of the arsenal here, and an arsenal and pass from Head Judge Dillon there. Now, doing me a favor, identifying what his arsenal is, taking a page out of Josh Lau's book, putting something on top of it. That's just in case he sets his hand down or something like that. Folks, there won't be any confusion that way about what's his hand, what's his arsenal, and so on. We see Mickey coming in here with a 4-card hand, looking to push some damage. And we just see a sledge shove here. Using that vigor to pay for a portion of the sledge here. You're able to keep 3 cards in their grip. You gotta wonder, is there an attack reaction here? Maybe one of those pummels that we saw earlier. That's at least what Dillon's wondering about here. And we see, ooh, we're gonna see a big play here out of Dillon. Banishing a Evo Sentry Helm and adding another piece towards his big singularity plays that we'll see further down the line here. Looking to cover up this damage here, not looking to take any damage. Again, like I said, Teklovossens don't always want to use their entire hand on the offenses. It's not a very offensively minded hero until after we see the singularity, after they've been fully equipped, and they're ready to go off. Opting to take 6 here. A little bit of a life pad issue. There we go. Should be at 32 life there. One moment, folks, as there's a little bit of an issue with our life pad here. We're trying to work it out as best they can. Slight issue with the pad. While the players figure this out, just want to take this time to plug that we do have a Pro Quest coming up on May 4th here in Lake City, Michigan at Gamers Gambit. Uh, we are eagerly awaiting. This looks like it's going to be a pretty big turnout. There is still slots available. If you are interested in attending, by all means, feel free to show up May 4th. So Dillon opted to take that damage. Let's see what he can convert here. He's got 4 cards available to him, 3 in hand, 1 in arsenal. And we'll see if he's looking to push a little bit of damage or if he's looking to set up another piece of equipment. Looks like he is activating Teklovossen's ability, equipping another Steel Soul Memory out of his Banish Zone. Very interesting. That has a lot of material underneath of it, folks. It's going to be a very interesting game here as we see Teklovossen really getting off to a good start, having enough time to or having enough resources available to follow that play up with another Teklo leveler here. This is coming in for 2, but this is a huge turn for Teklo. He's able to grab another piece of equipment, set that up, set that engine up as best he can, setting up for that big singularity play later in the game. And in a grindy matchup such as this, we may see that actually come to fruition here, folks. Uh, I think there's a discrepancy right now about where he got the extra resource to pay for that leveler. He activated Teklo's ability and then yeah, was able to have resources floating. Fishing a total of 12 for this turn. Micky taking a moment here to deciding whether or not this 2 damage is going to really affect them. Chooses to put a card down, and we see our first clash of the game here. Micky was successful in their clash, uh, revealing a scrap trader on the top of Dillon's deck. And we see Dillon pass the turn, back to Micky. We're going to see, do we see another anvil? Sledge of Anvilheim shove here? No, we are going to see an attack coming in. Coming in for 6 or 9. I see it coming in for 9 here, that Vigor helping to pay for it. Yep, we see Dillon using that equipment. Like I said, with this Teklo, effectively having a ton of extra life, being able to play these equipments out early, able to just free roll this block here, blocking all 9, only taking 1 card out of his hand. He'll be able to come back with potentially a big attack next turn. See, Micky passes the turn, not very able to use their entire hand very effectively. You got to wonder what they've got trapped in that arsenal there, or whether or not they're trying to set up a big player if Dillon just hasn't attacked enough to really pull any cards. Now, that will pull some cards. That is a command and conquer here. And a clash revealing another command and conquer. On top of Dillon's deck, Micky blocks 6 here. Dillon threatening that arsenal, and this is kind of telling here. Micky defending their arsenal pretty good. Whatever's in that arsenal must not be necessarily trapped so much as they're just waiting for a time to set up. Dillon winning that clash, they're having that vigor available to him with 2 resources floating off of the CNC. You got to wonder, we saw pummels off out of Micky's deck. Is Dillon running that pummel, or is he just bluffing the extra resources here? We see a clash again. This time Dillon losing that clash. That was a Macho Grande revealed on the top of Micky's deck there. Dillon's just going to pass the turn after that. Draws back up. Micky's got 3 cards available to them to come back. Um, with hopefully a big swing here. Needs to pressure Dillon. Dillon's in a good spot right now. He's got 2 of his 4 Evos really set up. He's got a chance. He's gotten a lot of resources put under that helm there. He's ready to uh, really get set up the rest of the way, and then a singularity time. He just has to draw into it. We see a sledge push here, and then a firewall as well as a towers block there. Often put that card on the bottom of his deck. Preserving 3 cards in his hand. You gotta wonder, does he have another piece of equipment ready to play here? He's playing kind of fast and loose with the temper on that equipment. It's important to know if the temper does actually break that, it breaks everything underneath as well. And he really needs to have all of his equipment set up um, for his big singularity plays. We do see the Steel Soul controllers being played here. Dillon is 1 piece of equipment away from having a full suite of this Temper 3 armor set up here. And that just bought Dillon extra time. That's an extra chunk of life there as well. Armor is life, and in this case, being able to just shove that, keep cards in your hand, ready to go, ready to pay for more pieces of armor. This is how Teklo can grind games out so effectively. I see a mangle come in from our Victor here. Not a very often seen uh, attack being run in most Guardian decks, but this is a pretty effective deck. It wouldn't hurt to flip into that on a Clash, for example. Dillon taking his time to consider what he needs to do here, make sure that he is blocking correctly, blocking effectively, doesn't want to get into any trouble here. And we see a Fabricate being played uh, by Dillon, putting that underneath of his helm, giving even more resources to that. And we see another set of equipment blocks here. Choosing to keep all these cards in his hand, not blocking directly. And nope, scratch that. We do see a block here. Managing to block out, avoid that crush. And we see. I may have misspoke, folks. I believe I've been saying Temper 3. I believe this is Battle Worn 3 on these blue equipments from Teklovossen. That is my bad, folks. We see a Teklo leveler shove here from Dillon representing 2 points of damage, but it does have go again because of the amount of equipment equipped, revealing a Junkyard Dog in this clash. Looking like our Victor won that. That was a blue Junkyard Dog. And we'll see what Dillon fires back with. He manages to just pass here, and we'll see if Micky can put on pressure. Adding a Tunic counter. Pitching most of their hand here to see a Righteous Cleansing out of Arsenal. Very interesting here. Very expensive attack action, but looking to potentially banish some cards off of the top of Dillon's deck. We see a block with the Steel Soul controllers and a Sink Below from Arsenal here. Needs to cover up. This is coming in for 11. Oh, and we see a second Sink Below here. Dillon choosing not to sink any cards from his hand, and that goes to show you the importance of these blocking pieces of equipment that Teklo is able to set up on his turns. Um, Not having to expend very many cards from his hand because his equipment blocks so effectively well. Being able to set those up early, like Dillon did in this game, is a huge advantage to him right now. Being able to stave off all of these assaults by Micky. I know the life total doesn't necessarily reflect it here, but Dillon is in a commanding position here. We see another clash, Micky winning that clash as Dillon reveals another piece of equipment, getting that vigor token. And we see a full set of armor now on our Teklovossen here. We are very close to a huge singularity play. Very close to a huge singularity play here. We see Dillon pass the turn afterwards. Another huge chunk of life just added to Dillon's total here as he gets another set of blocking equipment out. And now he's just kind of waiting. He's just waiting until he draws into his big plays. We're going to see big pop off turns. We see an equipment block here blocking the sledge. And we got to wonder what Micky's sitting on in their hand to play, to be able to preserve these cards and swing sledge rather than go out with a larger guardian attack, potentially ripping more cards from Dillon's hand. See, Dillon managed to keep 3 cards on that turn. Only blocking using his equipment, and we see another Teklo here. This time, our Teklo attack here with the leveler coming in for 3 with go again has 2 floating resources now. Oh, we see a banish here. Banishing 2 pieces of equipment, and we see the Teklo ability going off. Playing another Steel Soul controller here, drawing a card with resources floating off of that scrap trader. And he chooses to Arsenal here, and he's basically refreshed his armor. He has 2 pieces of fully blocking armor here as he digs for this singularity. Micky coming back with 4 cards available here, 3 in hand, 1 in arsenal. It looks like a fully charged up tunic as well, so we might see a bigger turn here. Pitching 2, and we see a cranial crush come from arsenal, representing 8 damage. Now this might be what Micky needs to pull a few cards out of Dillon's hand. It really just depends on whether or not Dillon's drawn into the singularity at this point. Dillon choosing to block 6, taking 2, avoiding any additional effects, and looking like he avoided any potential attack reactions from Micky as well. Not covering up the attack completely and not really being punished for it. See the Vigor token pop? Or the Might token rather pop here. We see a Teklo leveler for 4 with go again. We keep blocking and we see a clash. And a CNC followed up here. Now, Micky's really got to ask themselves what they consider or what they think of their arsenal here, whether or not they should block out this command and conquer and maybe have a mid turn pushing weapon, or if they're just comfortable with their arsenal being blown up here. The CNCs have been doing a lot of work for Dillon. Now you got to wonder. I think we've seen 2 command and conquers out of Dillon so far, and one was a clash, but it went to the bottom of Dillon's deck. We see a Crown of Providence block from Micky, as well as a pulling another card from hand. Looks like Micky's only gonna have 2 cards in hand going to their next turn, and they're gonna take some damage and lose. They're crowning away their arsenal. Now that's a good heads-up play by Micky, using their Crown of Providence to full effect here, dodging the potentially disastrous effects of a Command and Conquer, um, and saving themselves a little bit of life. Micky coming in with a 3-card hand here now. No card on Arsenal, having been crowned away on their last turn, but a full tunic here, so we could see um, some big plays. Looking like that Vigor and the Command and Conquer here. Uh, with, that Vigor pops and we see a Command and Conquer coming in. Now you gotta wonder what's in Dillon's arsenal and whether or not he wants to keep it. We see a Fabricate here. And we're going to see some equipment blocks out of our Teklovossen here, looking to preserve that arsenal as best they can. It's able to cover that up completely. Choosing to block with the chest instead of the arms. You're going to see Dillon come back with 4 cards. Micky not able to arsenal on that turn. We're going to see a Teklo leveler pushed. And again, folks, this is the kind of matchup we're going to see. A very grindy approach. We're going to see a lot of, now that Dillon's set up with just a lot of digging waiting to get to his big value payoffs here. Tekla able to grind with the best of them, and Victor being also a grindy hero as well, which is why Micky's set up with that Sledge of Anvilheim. We see a block and a clash. Command and Conquer revealed, and a piece of equipment for Dillon, so we will see Micky win that clash. This is important information, though, is letting Dillon know what's on the top of his deck, know what's coming, potentially helping him dig if we ever do need to activate the Victor ability here, or if Dillon chooses to use Teklovossen's ability to draw into that card that's left on the top of his deck. It's very interesting, this matchup, with just the amount of information that the players are giving to each other, and the amount of digging that Dillon needs to do with his deck. Now, chat, feel free to chime in. Let me know if I'm missing anything or you want to talk strategy or something like that. I'm sure, as you've noticed, it's just me on the mic tonight. Kittens is out of town. We see Dillon playing playing the towers off of Teklo's ability there. Uh, refreshing his shoes, having 6 block available on equipment without counters on them, uh, even more once we start to account for all of those counters. Drawing into another hand here, choosing to keep that arsenal a secret. He's been sitting on it for quite a few turns here. You got to wonder what it is, what he's building towards, what sort of payoffs he's looking at. Maybe it's just a big defense reaction. We're not sure. Got Micky on a 4-card hand here, having already pitched to flow gold to draw another card, do a little bit of hand smoothing. Pitches again. Picks that back up, not quite sure if that was the right card for them. The Vigor token pops as well. A little bit of missed triggers. Remember, it's casual REL tonight. It's REL laxed, as some would say. We're just getting ready for a Pro Quest coming up on the 4th. Now, we see a CNC coming in with a Might token. So this will be a CNC for 7, I believe. Really threatening that arsenal that Dillon's been sitting on here for a few turns. You got to wonder if he's going to use some equipment to cover that up, if this will pull cards from hand. It really just depends on how much he values that arsenal. We see 2 firewalls and his the controller there, putting a card on bottom, putting 2 cards on bottom off of those firewalls, and that will cover up that CNC. Micky, importantly here, only using a few cards. Yep, almost had a game rules violation there. Yeah, Mickey only using a few cards from their hand, really not super effectively using every card in their hand. Dillon not giving much of an opportunity to attack, so Mickey's not getting as much value out of their cards as they would like. We see a Teklo coming in for 3 with Go again. A Teklo Leveler, that is, coming in for 3 with Go again. Only 3 rounds of CC tonight, folks. In between rounds, I will be interviewing players, asking them for their spicy takes on the upcoming set part, the Mistville. We see a clash. We see a Golden Sun revealed on Mickey's end of things, and we see a Junkyard Dog revealed on Dylan's end of things. So looking like Mickey's going to win this clash, make another gold, get another token. And Dillon just opts to pass the turn. Both of these decks don't always use their hands super effectively if they are left with 4 or 5 card hands. Victor more likely to, unless Teklo has some equipment on their end of things. What Mickey's looking to do is Mickey really needs to pressure Dillon here. She needs to, or they need to make sure that Dillon doesn't get a ton of value. And we see a Golden Sun being played here off of that Tunic resource and fetching a Findall's Fighting Spirit. Cashing in some gold. This is going to be a Golden Sun coming in for 13 damage. And this is what I'm talking about here. It needs to take cards out of Dillon's hand. It needs to make sure that if he does find Singularity, he's not able to play it because we need to build up a ton of mounting damage here. Put him in a position where he can't block out effectively and uh, can't really get his payoff. He's been investing so much into these pieces of equipment, but if he can't get to the payoff, then he it's all been for nothing. You see a black with towers here and card from hand. 2 cards from hand on the black here. Looking to cover up as much of this Golden Sun as possible. Thinking about using towers. Looks like he might have pulled it back, just choosing to block with cards from hand instead. Preserving those towers as long as he can. Little discussion about how much Dillon's blocking for here. We see a reaction, a Fate Foreseen. He opts to keep that card on top, and then a Sink Below. That's what Dillon's been sitting on in the arsenal this entire time, was that Sink Below there, able to cover up that entire attack, that Golden Sun for 13, and keep a card in hand at that. Teklo's ability to really grind out games and block is very astounding. We see Dillon Arsenal and pass the turn, drawing up. Really digging for that Singularity here. Really hoping to get the payoff for playing this equipment. Um, Looking to play that long game. He has a 5 card hand at their disposal here. A Vigor token pitches a Golden Sun. Looks like there might have been a missed Tunic counter. And we see another big Guardian attack here. It's nice to see no sledge swings. We're looking to really pressure Dillon's hand. Coming in for a 9, making sure that, again, if he draws into that Singularity, if he's looking to do any big plays, he's not able to pay for it because we're pressuring, taking cards from his hand. We see some equipment blocks here out of our Teklovossen, looking to preserve some cards in hand potentially. Gonna see 3 pieces of equipment blocking here. Getting a little bit, but covering up all 9. Looking at a graveyard count. Dillon taking a moment, looking at his resources available to him. Accidentally put his boots under his chest there. I was wondering how long it would take him to catch that. Yeah. As I've mentioned a couple of times, casual REL tonight. We're just looking to get ready for a pro quest here on the 4th. We see a Teklo leveler coming in here for 3 with go again. Just really grinding Micky down, digging for his payoffs to this equipment, looking to leak a little bit of damage here and there. Cutting him down. And then follows that up, playing another Steel Soul Memory here. Drawing up. Micky choosing to take the damage, coming in with a 5-card hand here, folks. And we see a Rouse the Ancients revealing here, so this will be with 7 with go again. And this is the big turn that Micky needed. They're gonna rip cards from Dillon's hand here. We got a 7 with go again. It's gonna pull some equipment. This might pull some blocks. Now the question is does Dillon block out this vanilla damage, or does he wait and see if potentially Micky's gonna follow this up with a big Guardian attack here with maybe a crush effect? These are the things Dillon has to think about. Seeing Dillon choosing to block out this vanilla damage with some pieces of equipment and a card from hand. And this is what I was talking about, folks. Whereas, do you block the 7 go again and hope that they swing sledge, or do you take into account for there being a guardian attack following that up? Now I do see Dillon block with a card from hand, and then a fate for scene out of arsenal there, opting to keep the card on top. Able to only take very minor damage off this big turn, but it did pull quite a few cards from hand and from arsenal. We'll see if he can follow this up next turn. And here we go. We see an attack coming in for 6 with go again. Out of our Teklo. Able to have a pretty decent turn after blocking out so much. Able to still represent damage, able to pull cards from Micky, but Micky is playing Victor. Victor does enjoy blocking. He doesn't always use all 4 cards from his hand to his max ability here. Putting a little pressure on Micky, pulling a piece of equipment and 2 cards from hand. We do see a clash. Dillon, Dillon still are. Nobody loses this clash. Both things were shown were zeros. This clash, and they clash again. This time Dillon does lose the clash. Micky able to gain another piece of gold and a vigor and a might token. And a third clash. Or no, not a third clash, just double checking. See, Micky's got 3 cards available to them. Here, looking maybe to see, well, Dillon's not on an arsenal right now. Maybe see a big dominated attack. Maybe look to set up something in their arsenal. Swing sledge. We see CNC coming in here. Important to note, Dillon does not have an arsenal available to him, so the CNC doesn't really have an on-hit effect, but they are floating 2. And that's very important here. Is this last card in their hand a pummel? This is what Dillon has to think about. He doesn't really want to lose his entire turn to a pummel. And we see he's going to respect it. Oh, we see Greg coming in here with a quick correction. Rouse the Ancients does count as 0, which is greater than nothing, which was what was presented by Dillon. So Micky did win that clash off of that. That's very funny that you can win a clash on a 0. Thanks for the help, Greg. Thanks for the audible. And we see Dillon follow up here. We've got a attack on this leveler coming in for 3 with go again. Pitching a CNC to do so. On the clash, we see a Macho Grande versus an energy potion. That Macho Grande will win that. I do know that number is bigger than nothing. And Dillon keeps an arsenal here. We see Micky coming in on a 3-card hand here. Really looking to pressure Dillon some more. You gotta keep Dillon off of this. You gotta wonder. We've been in second cycle. You gotta wonder. Is Dillon even playing Singularity right now? Is he playing the massive payoff that we've been talking about, or did he side it out in the beginning of this match? See an attack coming in for 9. Dillon blocking the entire thing. No sweat. They're taking 1 damage, rather, and there's the Singularity. Here we go. This is the payoff to Dillon's deck. He did all the work early on in the game. He survived long enough to take all of this equipment that he took the time to set up, build up a ton of resources, and pop off. Here, this is the Teklovossen's game plan coming to fruition here. It really shows in these longer, grindier matchups uh, the ability to set up this massive transformation of the hero. And we're about to see some big damage coming through. All of this equipment getting cleaned up, put underneath our token here. And we're going to start seeing some attacks coming in. Micky has 4 cards to block here, but this is an attack coming for 6. Dylan's got a ways to go to really close out the game here. Micky is at 35 life. The thing about Teklo is doesn't push a lot of damage until this point. So on my screen here, I'm going to pull up Singularity just in case. So he uses 3, banishes 2 cards from his soul. When they attack a hero, Micky had to discard a card. Its attack actions get go again, and it counts as having 4 evos equipped as well for cards that care about that. Micky choosing to block 6 here, or block 5 here, giving Dillon a quick token. Heads up play off of those civic steps. Teklo's not going to make much use of that quicken token. Here doesn't really need to, as his transform state here. Everything already has go again, so this was the correct time for Micky to be blocking. And we see 2 more banishes, and coming in for 6 again with go again. No resources floating this time, so this might be the last attack on Dillon's thing. See another block with civic steps. This is going to force another discard. Or we see that civic steps being brought back onto the combat chain. The combat chain doesn't close between these attacks. So we see another attack, another forced discard, and we're going to leak a little bit of damage this time. Micky blocking with a golden sun here. Here comes Iron Man indeed. See Micky just having to tick up their tunic, arsenal, and pass here as Dillon is firmly taken control of the game. We see that Vigor token pop giving him a resource. Now we see a War Machine, I believe, coming in for 6 with go again. Yep, we got a War Machine coming in with Go Again, coming in for 9, and when it hits, it'll destroy anything that's in Mickey's arsenal. However, nothing in Mickey's arsenal. So Micky can pretty much ignore this on hit. Just got to be sure to effectively block. We see another clash here. Dillon wins another clash too. Micky getting kind of unlucky on their clashes. This time we see a Terminator tank coming in for 6 damage, or for 9 damage here. And on hit, Micky will discard a card. Teklo really setting up this pitch stacked game plan, stripping a ton of cards out of Mickey's hand. Mickey's got to decide what to do, decide what card to discard. Just letting it's gonna hit. It's going to force a discard. Mickey's got 1 card left, but Dillon then attacks with Teklovossen himself, potentially forcing another discard. And Dillon is firmly taking control of this game again. From 25, it's 25 to 16 now, and Micky just having to drop and pass again. And Dillon's has another handful of gas and a vigor token. We see another Terminator tank being played here, coming in for 9, forcing a hit on discard with Go Again. Tekla has reached their end game, gotten their massive payoff. Against slower decks like this, they're able to just get this very commanding board state, and you gotta wonder what Micky can even do at this point. See Micky blocking with 1 card here, and then a clash. We got a Junkyard Dog revealed on Dillon's side of things, so that's another big attack that could come in next turn. See Micky taking 6 here, having to discard a card, and then also having to discard a card as we come in for 6 with a Teklovossen. That's going to leak another 3 damage, and Micky's just not going to have another turn. They just need to survive until Dillon runs out of gas here, but it might be too late in the game. He draws up and passes the turn to Dillon. Dillon does a quick count, sees what he needs to do. We see a Junkyard Dog here coming in, choosing something to scrap. This will have Go Again as its Mechanologist attack. And that's fully covered up by Micky, and then we see another attack and a discard. That's going to potentially leaks another little bit of damage. We see the Crater Fist being put in front, as well as the Civic Steps. Only leaking a little bit of damage here. Micky really just hoping to run Dillon out of gas before he can take even further control of the game here. You got to wonder if that's a thing Micky's able to do, or if Dillon has enough stuff in his hero's soul to be able to keep this relentless assault going. Here we go. We have a War Machine coming in now, threatening to destroy Micky's arsenal. Micky can ignore this on hit. Doesn't have anything in arsenal, but it is 9 damage, and that is lethal. Blocks 3. There's 6. Will Micky block all 9 of it? This is a bad spot for Micky to be in. Dillon's going to leak some damage this turn. We see a clash here. Dillon reveals the Junkyard Dog. And Dillon choosing to Arsenal here, choosing to wait on activating or attacking again with his hero, letting Micky have a little bit of a turn here. Micky pushes that sledge here, and you got to wonder, does Dillon just take this? Yep, Dillon choosing to just take the damage on the sledge to keep up the assault. Micky does get to keep an arsenal here. And we see a Junkyard Dog coming in. for 6 with go again. Micky at 4 life here, very precarious situation. Blocks with the Findall's Fighting Spirit, as well as Findall's Spring Tunic. Gaining a life off of the Fighting Spirit. We're able to block all 6 damage here. That attack did have go again. Dillon thinking about what to do. He's going to attack with his hero, banishing 2 cards from Soul, making Micky discard a card, and we're going to leak a little bit of damage here. Taking Micky to 2. He's out of equipment. Really has to hope that Dillon runs out of gas here. Needs to survive a few more turns. Has to draw up and pass, though. This is letting Dillon keep going, and we're worried about time here as well, folks. So Dillon playing pretty fast. We see a Terminator tank coming in, threatening to win the game on hit. But if Micky even takes 1 damage, and we see the handshake here, Micky not going to be able to take this one, and we have head judge Dillon coming away with the win here, folks. So back here in the booth, as you probably noticed, just me tonight here, Goose on the mic. Kittens is out of town, so it's just me doing the casting here for our Friday night CC event here at Gamers Gambit in Lake City, Michigan. We're getting ready for our ProQuest coming up on May 4th. There are slots available. It's going to be a big ProQuest. Gamers Gambit is kind of a nexus here for Flesh and Blood in northern Michigan. Pulls a lot of people from all sorts of towns around the area. It's going to be a pretty big event. Lots of rounds, lots of opportunity to earn your spot in Amsterdam if you can swing going out there. Only a 3-round event tonight, kind of a light night. Only 8 people, but we're hoping to have a lot of fast-paced, good, clean games of Flesh and Blood as we go between rounds. Looking to interview people that won after their that won their rounds on stream. May or may not happen on this one, as we are getting kind of close to time of the round. That was a grindier game, but we do have some pretty aggressive decks here tonight. We do have a Katsu. Don't mind me just checking the clock real quick. Yep, looking like we're pretty short on time in the round here, folks. Looking like that was our last game going, so we should see a new pairing, a new set of people on stream. We'll go right straight into it here. Yep, we're getting ready for our ProQuest, testing some new decks. A lot of people playing a lot of spicy brews, experimenting with heroes they haven't necessarily played with before. Really looking to. We've got 2.5 minutes in the round here, folks, as we get ready to pair round 2. We do have a rowdy bunch here tonight, folks. Looking to have a good time playing some high quality Flesh and Blood. We got head judge Dillon, just gave me the thumbs up. Was really excited to come away with the win on that Teklovossen deck. Here, if you want, you can get you on the mic. May or may not be on. It's on this side. It might have shut itself off.
Okay.
Anywho, quite a win. I was debating with chat as to whether or not you even had Singularity in your deck. I was like, we were in second cycle. I don't remember seeing if he pitched it or not, but it's got to be there somewhere.
Yeah, I saw it like turn 2 or 3, and I'm like, that's way too early. Yeah. Pitched it, hoped I would live long enough to see it, and then tried to treat myself with some of those Terminator tanks and war machines in the end game, and Ultron.
I mean, you did it. You got there. It was a grindy game, but getting those pieces of equipment out early really seemed to pay off for you. It helped you set up, and it earns you like 6 life every time you pay a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Which came in handy.
Yeah, especially with those fabricates, being able to buff them, getting around the temper.
Yeah.
Good interaction, fun play.
And then winning a bunch of clashes as well. That was
Yeah,
I was pretty surprised about that.
it was a non-zero number of clashes. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it was it was pretty interesting to see. And then of course the one clash where zero winds up being greater than nothing,
Yeah, that
which
is
is
true.
an
Zero
interesting
is greater than
interaction.
nothing. Yeah.
We had shop owner Greg filling me in on that one on the
Yeah.
side here in the chat. Uh,
Anyway, I had to ask myself too. I'm like, wait, that is that. I read that in the rules reprise, right? And
yeah.
then, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
admittedly, not a matchup I've seen very often. That was my first time seeing a Teklovossen actually pull off a singularity. Usually, when I see Teklo play, they're getting ran over by one of the ninjas that like to run around the shop. But
yeah. Um, I that is the gamble. You're trying to play a long game, and this meta doesn't really let you do that very often anymore. So anytime I have an opportunity to get off singularity, I'm feeling really good.
yeah, it was a super interesting round. Good luck on the rest of your rounds here. As we it sounds like the timer's going off. We're getting ready to pair round two of the
I'm pre-
event.
I'm preparing to go 1-3.
Little does Dillon know, only 3 rounds tonight, so he's already already doing better than he expects he will. So yeah, we got our timer going off. We're getting ready to pair round three. We'll be into our next round here shortly, with some fast-paced flesh and blood here, as we get ready for our ProQuest event coming up on the 4th. Now this is our top table here, so in theory, both players that will be in the room have won their first round. We'll just we'll keep it in the booth for now until we see who winds up in there. So if you're hanging out in chat, feel free to talk to me. It is kind of lonely here in the booth all by myself. Feel free to give me some of your hot takes. Let's say I'm feeling feisty tonight. Let's see some hot takes from chat regarding like favorite heroes, what the meta's going to be like now that Drum Eye's gone. You could pay your respects to Drum Eye in the chat, or just feel free to roast her. She's not going to know about it. Uh, Here, yeah, let's go. Round two is the round of hot takes. Give me your spiciest fab hot takes, folk, as we get ready to go into our second round here tonight. In the booth, it looks like we're gonna have Ryan on Kassai, or in the room, it looks like we're gonna have Ryan on Kassai versus Dakotah on Katsu, if I read that right. Now, Ryan on a spicy brew of Kassai, Dakotah playing something very similar to Pudding Tam's calling list that has been circulating recently, looking to get the most out of a triple bonds turn if he can get it, playing an all out aggressive Katsu here versus Ryan's more mid rangey value centric Kassai here. And something I want chat to keep track of for me: how often does Hot Streak Gain go again versus this Katsu? That is that is what I am curious about. I'm very into these dual wielding warriors, but you gotta wonder what's the best weapon for him. Is it a Centauri Saber? Is it Hot Streak? This is the science I want to conduct as we go through stream tonight here. So I'm pulling up the players' deck list here. It is closed deck lists tonight, but I both Ryan and Dakotah were very nice, very sweet, and let me have a peek at their lists so we can better commentate. Don't have kittens with me tonight to help me look at cards, so having these deck lists is crucial tonight. So going into the gameplay here, got Ryan set up with an absolutely beautiful playmat here and some very sweet Kassai sleeves. Waiting on his opponent to come in, doing maybe a little bit of pre-boarding. He does know who he's playing against, so he's pre-boarded a touch. We're just waiting on that player to get into the room. 1 second here, so I'm going to put myself on mute and figure out why they're not in the room yet. We're back, folks. I did some investigation, a little bit of investigative reporting out there on the field here. We are waiting for Dakotah to sleeve up his deck. Apparently, his sleeves were so dirty that he had to buy a new pack of sleeves here. This is going into his time in the round, but he is on such an aggressive build of Katsu that probably won't matter. This game's going to end pretty fast, one way or the other. He's just got to hurry up and sleeve his deck up. Apparently, sleeves were splitting. Sleeves were just nasty. His first round opponent accused him of having Cheeto fingers. So, and I can say all these things because Dakotah, a close personal friend of mine. But yeah, we're just waiting on a little bit of a sleeve debacle here, and we'll be ready to go, folks. In the meantime, feel free, give me your hot takes, give me your predictions for Part the Misfill. Dakotah, known ninja connoisseur, as well as myself, we spend a lot of time brewing ninja decks uh, together. So feel free to give me your takes on Zen as he comes up. I want to know everything you know, so I can formulate some opinions. Not a huge Crouching Tiger fan myself, but if Zen makes them somewhat consistent, I might change my tune a little bit. The Marvel Crouching Tiger does have some of the most gorgeous art in the entire game. And speaking of gorgeous art, Part of the Mistville is looking to be a very very pretty set at the bare minimum. Blue's a great color, so all of these this kind of blue based artwork that we've seen so far, all these mystic heroes. And the chi resource all being kind of a blue based, it's it's going to be very very pretty. A refresh chat here, see if anybody chimed in yet. It's not looking like it. I can see just in a line, we can see Dakotah frantically trying to sleeve up here, uh, yelling that the timer hasn't quite started yet. I beg to differ. My timer started, and Dakotah's going real slow. 1 second, folks. I might actually leave you in the booth, and I'm gonna go help him sleeve up his deck. All right, folks. Crisis averted. Dakotah has his deck sleeved up. He's just grabbing his stuff and heading over to the stream room here, and we'll be able to get this gameplay uh, kicked off here soon. Going back, I just want to look at Ryan's playmat. So gorgeous. Ryan, known blinged out player, uh, has some of the most gorgeous metal fab tokens at his disposal. It has great playmats. He very much leans into the aesthetic of things. It looks absolutely amazing. Got Dakotah here, repping Phi or Phoenix Flame, making sure that he puts his head right in the shot as he gets ready to go here. We've got a started timer, and the round has kicked off. Doing a little bit of pre-boarding here. Ryan's already ready to go. Dakotah checking his matchup spreads real quick, seeing what he needs for Kassai. Is playing putting Tam's list pretty much exactly here. So he's learning a new build of Katsu, but honestly, Dakotah's been playing Katsu since Welcome to Wraith. Known ninja aficionado is Dakotah. Pretty much only owns ninja cards. Is an expert in his field. However, is playing a new list. And that's kind of what we're here for tonight, folks. Is we're here getting ready for upcoming ProQuest on May 4th here in Lake City, Michigan at Gamers Gambit. Um, Ready to roll here. We've got Dakotah setting up Katsu. Got a Mask of the Pouncing Link, a Breaking Scales, a Find All Spring Tunic, and we're set to kick off a pretty high-paced, fast match here with those Breeze Rider boots, looking to make the most out of a triple bonds turn, if at all possible. Meanwhile, we've got Ryan here on Kassai. Uh, got that hot streak equipped, and remember, chat, I need you to help me keep track of how many times hot streak has go again in this matchup. Getting a round timer set up for the crew here. And we are off to the races, folks. Getting a little bit of a shuffle in here. Dakotah on brand new sleeves, having to re-sleeve his deck between rounds just because the sleeves were that grody. We're getting ready to go. So game plans here. Katsu's going to go full out, as fast paced as they can, aggro. Choosing to run Tunic over Heart and Crossstrap in this look, maybe wanting a little bit of an extra block here, but looking to potentially get a crazy triple bonds turn here. We've got chat saying Cyclone Roundhouse if Ryan blocks with Valiant Dynamos will win the game. That's very true. Very, very true. Ryan's got to keep that in mind. We got to see if Dakotah's even running Cyclone Roundhouse. That's a good question. Playing this, putting Tam's list here, just double checking. Cyclone Roundhouse is in the list, so potentially Dakotah might have a line to just out and out win the game. If punishing honestly one of Kassai's strongest things it has going, those Valiant Dynamos helping so much, effectively gaining them a life around, because Kassai's going to have no issue swinging twice with their swords here. So we got to see if Dakotah is able to line that up and gets a heads up play. Doing a little bit of a pile shuffle here, really making sure that he's got the correct number of cards. Not worried about time, folks. This is a super aggressive Katsu going into a mid-rangey Kassai. Katsu not gonna eat up the entire round timer here, provided the players are playing at a good clip. Taking extra time to shuffle, getting ready to go. Ryan's just waiting. He's had a few minutes to get ready. Patient player. Ryan's game plan here is going to want to get the most out of those Valiant Dynamos as long as he has it. Also, Marvel Kassai as well. Just absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, Ryan, known to bling out his decks to the max, has gorgeous metal fab tokens, gorgeous playmats. Just has some of the prettiest gear possible. But yeah, Ryan's looking to swing twice with his sabers, get a lot of value out of those Valiant Dynamos. Put pressure on Katsu, make Katsu lower Katsu's life total enough that Katsu can't play 5 card hands anymore. Look to disrupt those bonds turns as good as they can, and potentially set up for a big blood on her hands or a raise an army turn here. It really depends on what sort of build Ryan chose to go for. Here, looking to make the most out of cards like Nourishing Emptiness as well, getting some Dominate in. Katsu doesn't have a ton of armor that blocks super well. If Ryan manages to make Dakotah block with that Mask of the Pouncing Links before he can cash it in for value, that would be huge. Our players are drawing up here. I see Dakotah start off by taking up his tunic, and he will take the play here. So you gotta, as Dakotah here, you gotta wonder: do you attack at all and potentially Ryan smooth out his hand, or do you just Arsenal here set up for a big turn next turn? Important to remember for anybody new to Flesh and Blood, this is the only round in the game where both players are going to draw up to their full hand size at the end of the round. Ryan is effectively blocking for free here if Dakotah attacks at all, and gets to filter out some of the worst cards in his hand. We've got a Kadachi for one coming in here off of a blue or off of a yellow, having one resource floating. Ryan's going to go ahead and block with those dynamos. And another Kadachi. Ryan blocks with a cash in here. Now that's an interesting part of Kassai's game plan here. Playing cards like cash in, make the most out of coppers and golds that she might make to draw extra cards, turn on her abilities, make her sword swings free. Dakotah thinks about it here. Looks like he's got 3 more cards available to him. You gotta wonder how much of Kassai's hand are you gonna let Ryan filter through, or if he also has to wonder if he can leak any damage on this turn. Those are the big things that are going through Dakotah's mind right now. I see a Warmonger's Diplomacy played here. And we'll see how much of an impact that's going to have on Ryan's turn. Ryan, importantly, looking to swing twice with his swords here. Looking to get the value out of those Valiant Dynamos. Is going to have a 4-card hand going into Dakotah. If he can get out of this turn without blocking, get a go at Ryan with a 5-card hand here as Katsu. Really, that's what ninjas want to be doing. That's their game plan. They want to swing out as much aggro as we can. See Ryan pitch of blood on her hands, coming with that hot streak here. Now, this is where we start the hot streak count, the great hot streak count 2024. We want to see how many times hot streak gets go again on its own versus Ryan having to give hot streak go again here. So importantly for hot streak, if Dakotah blocks with attack actions, it'll give hot streak go again. Dakotah thinking about his plays here. He's on a new list. He's borrowed Pudding Tam's list here, really considering the lines. You might not have seen some of these cards before. He is going to block here, it looks like. You see Ryan, Dakotah chooses not to block. Ryan reacts here. Dakotah's going to eat all of that damage here, go down to 36. And Ryan has to arsenal here with a card still left in hand. Not able to make the most out of his 4-card hand because of that Warmonger's Diplomacy. Got Dakotah coming in here off of a 5-card hand. Pitches a Fluster Fist, coming in Kadachi for 1. Ryan choosing to take 1 here. We'll see a Be Like Water coming in for 3. This represents an on hit here. Dakotah does have resources floating. This might be a way to set up a combo chain here if Ryan chooses to let this hit. Some people think of this as a must block. A lot of people wind up taking a card from hand to block with it. Important to note here, Ryan was not able to remove that counter from his boots, only able to swing once that turn. When Be Like Water hits, Dakotah can choose to pay 1. If he does, he can choose. He's going to choose Surging Strike to rename Be Like Water too. Dakotah on Max of the Pouncing Links rather than Mask of Momentum here, so we don't have to worry about blocking the second link at a chain or anything like that. He's not looking to draw any extra cards. He's looking to save that Pouncing Links max for a big pop-off turn. So Ryan shoving some equipment in front of this here to block out that Be Like Water. Doesn't want to let that hit. Dakotah goes ahead, follows up with a spinning wheel kick, I believe. Actually, that's a descendant gust wave. My apologies, folks. No, my bad. I was right. Should have trusted my instincts. This is a spinning wheel kick from Dakotah. This will be coming in for 4 with go again. Sometimes it's hard reading cards upside down, but like I said, just like these players are practicing for the ProQuest, I'm practicing my commentary for the ProQuest, folks. So we see the spinning wheel kick here. Ryan choosing whether or not to block. This is effectively vanilla damage. No on hits represented by spinning wheel kick, but Ryan is a more more mid-rangey style of deck here is Kassai, so there's potential he doesn't necessarily think he can use all the cards in his hand a for an all-out aggressive play here. You might get more value out of blocking with some of them. Taking some time to consider. This is going to be a fast matchup, so players don't necessarily have to play at maximum speed here. They have some time to think. Chooses to take the damage here. Dakotah is going to discard a Dishonor to go ahead and search his deck for a card with combo, and we're going to see a 100 wins coming in. Now, this is a spicy include. I am a huge fan of 100 wins. They just keep combat chains going. So we're going to see 100 wins coming in for 3 here. It's just a vanilla 3, but it does have go again just naturally printed on the cards. Great tech for Katsu to be able to filter out some bad hands. So we see this 100 wins coming in for 3. Dakotah counting up some hits here, potentially looking for like a big Salt the Wind type turn. If he thinks that maybe he wants to pull the mask early. We see a Kodachi coming in, no more floating resources. Ryan takes 1. Keeping a full grip here. Has only blocked with equipment so far. And we're going to see a Tenacity come in for 4. I believe that's a Tenacity. Nope, so this is a Tenacity coming in for 4. Just had the natural Tenacity as well. Didn't have to spend his mask or anything like that. Big fan of Tenacity as well. It's a great supplement. It's a fixed Salt the Wound if you want to use some aggressive air quoting there. Depending on your deck, maybe you want to run one of them, maybe you want to run both, Tenacity and Salt the Wound. It's a very interesting ninja tech card that came from heavy hitters. Huge combat chain here from Dakotah, and this is what I'm talking about with ninjas wanting to play off these 5-card hands, not wanting to block a whole lot against the warriors here, willing to let their life totals go down in order to put up a lot of pressure against the warriors. We get a little bit of cleanup, and Ryan did keep a 5-card hand total, 4 in hand, 1 in arsenal here. So we are going to see potentially a pretty aggressive turn from Ryan coming up. We see a Gorganian Tome, generating a Vigor, drawing a card. He uses that Vigor to uses that resource off of the Vigor to play a Spoils of War. So we are going to see a sword come in with go again. This doesn't count for the great hot streak count of 2024. We want hot streak to be giving it on its own. So this is going to give his sword swings an on hit effect. This turn. He's looking to generate copper, which does matter for cards like Blood on Her Hands. Here, so Dakotah does have to think about that. Anytime that he gets hit, Ryan's going to generate some resources. So Dakotah has to think it through. Does he want to block this turn, or does he want to just play it risky, let Ryan let Ryan gain some copper tokens? So Ryan considering his next move here. His first sword swing will have go again. He's just got to figure out how he wants to sequence his turn. He has drawn a card this turn, so Kassai's abilities are live. And we see an Outland Skirmish played here. Going to pump up his next sword swing. Maybe really convince Dakotah that he needs to block here. So that's going to give +3 on top of the boost that Spoils of War is giving. So this first sword swing is going to come in for quite a bit of damage if Dakotah just chooses to take it, and on hits here. Important to remember there is going to be on hits on Ryan's saber swings for the round. Ryan considering very carefully what he wants to play, whether or not he wants to buff this attack maybe more. He's got 3 cards in hand. We see a Centauri saber swung here. This saber will be coming in for quite a bit of damage here. Ryan opting not to use one of the dice to represent damage. So we're going to do a little bit of a manual calculation on my own. This will be getting +5 from the cards Ryan has played so far, so this will be a saber for 7. If Dakotah blocks with an attack action card, it'll boost that saber up by another one to 8. And the saber does have go again, representing a non-hit of generating 2 copper for Ryan, which will matter for Kassai's late game when she wants to play blood on her hands and really go off with a kind of a Nova damage if she can hold Katsu off that long. Dakotah has a decision to make. He has to decide whether or not that it's going to matter, whether or not he thinks it's going to get to the end game. He's going to take a little bit of a gamble. He's going to count up the damage in his hand and consider whether or not to just block out uh, entirely, or if he's got a clunkier hand, um, or if he's got a full aggro based hand and he doesn't need to block out at all. Important thing to remember with Katsu is that sometimes you can make a pretty decent turn out of a bad hand, being able to discard cards to Katsu's ability to tutor through your deck. He's one of the only heroes in the game that lets you tutor every turn. Looks like we might see an equipment and 2 cards. Dakotah really putting a lot of respect on this saber here. Turning on any potential reprise if Ryan runs it. Here, blocking out, deciding that he doesn't want Ryan to get that. Oh, we see 2 pieces of equipment too. The Breezewater boots come in as well. Ryan pitches here. We're going to see an attack reaction of some sort, and Dakotah might be in trouble. Oh, no. Instead, we move through reactions. We play another Spoils of War. And Dakotah opting to just block out. He had the classic Katsu hand where a lot of middle of combo lines here, so he's not going to be able to have a very great, wouldn't have had a very great damage turn, so he's getting more value out of the cards by just blocking out. So he blocks out this hot streak with a Be Like Water and a Fluster Fist. Here, this hot streak was coming in for 4. Dakotah on putting a lot of respect on the copper generation from the Spoils of Wars, and importantly here we saw 2 Spoils of War go this turn. So the that on hit threat of coppers isn't going to come up potentially for quite a few turns here as Ryan's went through 2 of his 3 copies. Ryan does get to end the turn with a card in hand. We'll see if he decides to arsenal that or not. Dakotah not going to have much of a turn at all. He's going to tick up his tunic and draw up. He was not able to keep any cards. Put a lot of respect. Ryan opting not to put a card in his arsenal. Very interesting, folks. Very interesting indeed, especially considering Dakotah didn't basically doesn't have a turn. Ryan was able to remove the counter from his dynamos here, gaining a lot of effectively gaining 1 life. We see a hot streak come in here, and we'll see if Dakotah has another clunky hand or if he is going to take some damage this turn and really come in with a really heavy duty. Chooses not to block, making Ryan have to give the attack go again. with Blade Runner, and we see a Flick Flack from Dakotah here. And we see that followed up here with a Saber. So that looks to be a blue Blade Runner here. So this will be a Saber for 3. Dakotah blocking with that extended art Fluster Fist. Or Whelming Gust Wave, rather. It's Katsu. All the cards are effectively the same, right? They have to do with wind. That's my hot take for the round. Dakotah has 2 cards available to him on this turn. And a full tunic counter. He just opts to Arsenal and pass. Having a clunky couple of hands here is Katsu. Ryan's able to capitalize on this, getting a lot of value out of his weapons, pulling a lot of cards from Dakotah's hand, making Dakotah respect him, and that's where Kassai wants to be in this matchup. So Ryan plays a yellow outland skirmish here. Checks his arsenal real quick. We're gonna have a buffed up sword coming in, potentially looking for some source of go again. Checks his graveyard here. He's able to play carefully because this is going to be a faster game in theory. The players have a clock in there, so they know what they're up against. We're gonna see a looks to be Ryan considering swinging with a saber. Double checking here. Uses Kassai's ability. Gonna banish 2 yellows and 2 reds. The next weapon is going to generate a gold token because of this if it hits. So putting another on hit on here, making Dakotah really consider blocking heavily here. And I like this kind of play out of Ryan. Adding on hits to your weapon attacks as a warrior is a very valuable thing to do. This puts a lot of pressure on Dakotah, makes Dakotah, who's playing a ninja who doesn't typically want to block, have to really consider whether or not he's going to block. And like I said, if Ryan can pull Dakotah's Lynx Mask or something like that, the chances of a triple bonds turn are effectively gone. So we see a hot streak come in here. This will be a buffed up hot streak off of that yellow um, Outland Skirmish. And Dakotah really has to consider whether or not he wants to block because gold tokens are on the line here. So this is a hot streak coming in for 5 total. We see a Blade Runner. Dakotah opting to not block, hoping that Ryan has no way to give it go again. Ryan does. Plays a yellow Blade Runner here, so his next sword attack will be buffed up as well. And we see a gold generated as well as a copper. Now we'll see a saber come in. This will be a saber for 4. Dakotah just opts to take it. He's on a 5-card hand here, which is where ninjas want to be. Maybe we'll see this this fabled triple bonds turn. We'll see if Dakotah can push a lot of damage. We're at life total parity here, so Dakotah needs to swing this back in his favor. Start pulling cards from Ryan. Start taking some initiative here in this game. Hopefully, his clunky hands are no more, and he'll be able to sail through this time. He won't get Katsu'd, as it were. Katsu, super powerful hero. Um, However, is prone to having some clunky hands sometimes just because of the nature of combo lines versus a hero like Fi, um, who only has to worry about sequencing different reds. Katsu has to bounce a bunch of combo lines. Okay, here we go. We're gonna see a surging strike coming in here. Floating a resource. And now this is a hot debate amongst the Fab community. Do you fully block the surging strike, or do you save your resources to block the whelming gust wave that's likely to follow? One side of the deal says don't or says block it out so Katsu can't tutor for the whelming gustwave, but then you run the risk of the natural whelming. Um, it's kind of a bad situation either way. We see an Art of War played from Arsenal here. We're set to see potentially a big turn here from Dakotah, and Katsu chooses to banish and draw two and give +1/+1. So this is a searching strike for 6. And now the Katsu has the ability to tutor up that whelming if it's around or descendant, depending on the line he wants to go for here. Ryan breaks his helm here, draws a card. Not ideal for Ryan. He wants to likely do that on his turn to turn on Kassai's ability. Dakotah will tutor here. Discards a Warmonger's Diplomacy. We see Dakotah tutor up a Descendant Gustwave here. We might see a Bond's turn, the fabled Bond's turn. Takes a moment to shuffle. Has a fully charged Tunic here. No floating resources, but 2 cards in hand and a banished Descendant Gustwave here. This is an Art of War turn, so all of Dakotah's attack actions will be buffed up this turn. Taking time to make sure he's thoroughly shuffled his deck here. Chat unsure of what's in Dakotah's hand. He hasn't really showed me. He's not on the side of the table where I can see very well. Playing it down very close, but we see Ryan choosing to take the damage here on the Descendant. And we do see a Bonds. This is a Bonds coming in for 4. That Bonds is going to tutor up a card. We see a Dishonor. Dakotah threatening Dishonor this turn. Ryan bleeding a little bit more life, down to 19 life to Dakotah's 27. This is what Dakotah was hoping for. He was hoping for a big swing in life total here. He's hoping to draw cards out of Ryan's hand to keep pressing the advantage. And we see a Dishonor being threatened. This is a Dishonor for 5. Now Ryan really needs to block this out. This will pull some cards from Ryan's hand. Dishonor threatening to effectively make Kassai a blank card here. That would be disastrous for Ryan. Kassai really relies on her abilities, drawing cards, generating that gold for her end game strategies here. We see a black with the shoes, as well as 2 cards from Ryan's hand. It looks like a Glint the Quicksilver, among other things. Blocking out the Dishonor here, but Dakotah was able to pull several cards from Ryan's hand. Ryan only has a 2-card hand here to fire back, and Dakotah was able to set up an arsenal, potentially ready for a 5-card hand coming up with a fully loaded Tunic. Ryan activates Kassai's ability, banishes a few cards. Pitches the Yellow Blade Runner. We got a hot streak coming in. 1 resource floating. Threatening to make a gold token here. Again, building up for something like a Raise an Army or something along that line. Chooses to use Grains of Bloodspill, making a Vigor token. And then just setting up an arsenal. Dakotah's got 5 cards here, looking to put a lot of pressure on, keep pressing this tempo advantage uh, against Ryan, looking to not give him a lot of value, make him so he can't get his Valiant Dynamos back online, looking to take as much as he can from Ryan's hand here. Here we go. See it be like water coming in here. Ryan treated this as a must block last turn, or a few turns ago. Uh, Dakotah does have a fully charged Tunic here, so he is able to activate that ability at no cost of a card. We see a sink below. Yep, Ryan's treating these be like waters like must blocks, not wanting Dakotah to get the added advantage of being able to rename these to something like Surging Strike or something like that. Dakotah considering what he does from here, potentially relying on that Be Like Water to be a Surging Strike for his turn. Takes a second to check his graveyard. It's part of the difficulty of playing Katsu, right? Is you have to know what's in your deck. You have to know what you're going to be tutoring for, and whether or not it's optimal to discard one of your cards to go tutor for it. In the older days of Katsu, when you played more of the Lord of Wind line, you really wanted to know what was in your bin, so you would know what you could potentially gain back from that or win. Nowadays, it's just focusing on, okay, what combo cards have I played? What combo cards can I still go get? How should I structure my turn around them? When to use Katsu's ability and so on. See a Descendant Gust Wave coming in here. This will just be for 2. Has a resource floating. Hoping to pull some. Oh, we're going to see Ryan Black with the grains here. Really not wanting Dakotah to be able to tutor. We see a Bonds followed up. That's Bonds for 3. And this Bonds will banish a Spinning Wheel Kick, which will represent 4 damage on the next attack here. Dakotah, pretty decent turn out of this. Pressuring Ryan's life total a little bit here, 25 to 16. Managed to pull a card from Ryan's hand. We'll see if Ryan decides to block the Spinning Wheel Kick or not. Dakotah has not used Katsu's ability yet this turn. Not sure if he has a card in hand or not. He's keeping it off the table. Believe no, he wouldn't have a card in hand. He's played all 4, so he can't really Katsu here. But he can play this Spinning Wheel Kick for 4 and threaten potentially a Cyclone Roundhouse from Arsenal, but he wouldn't be getting the max value out of it here, as Ryan hasn't blocked with his Dynamos. Ryan blocks with a Fate for Scene. Opts to put a card on the bottom. It escapes that turn with fairly minimal damage. Vigor Pop's giving him a resource. And we see Ryan able to take a peek at Dakotah's hand here. Quite a hand from Dakotah. Looks like some ancestral empowerments. Ryan also gets to look at the top of the deck here. A couple of ancestral empowerments and a couple of fluster fists. Not necessarily an ideal hand for Dakotah. Ryan has 3 cards remaining. He did get to draw a card. Important to note, this card isn't on the list that Ryan gave me. Ryan cheekily likes to keep this card a secret from me. He's got 3 cards here. Let's see if he can focus. And he knows kind of the contents of Dillon's hand. He knows Dakotah's got kind of a blocking hand here. So Ryan's really got to decide if he wants to, for example, turn on Kassai's ability or not, Or if he just wants to try and swing in for some damage, pull cards from Dakotah's hand, and maybe set up an arsenal for a big turn next turn. Got an outland skirmish here, so his next sword swing is going to be buffed by 3. That looks like a red one. And we'll see a hot streak come in for 5 here. See Dakotah block it out. We see a Blade Runner here. Giving that hot streak go again and buffing his next swing. That's a red Blade Runner too, so this Centauri Saber that's about to follow up is going to be buffed up pretty good, represent a lot of damage. But like we said when we saw Dakotah's hand, looks like a pretty blocking hand here. A lot of the same problems that Katsu deals with, having those middle of combo chains in his hand there. No go again, no real way to really capitalize on them as much as possible. Looking here, generates a gold. All right, we see a Centauri Saber coming in here. I believe this is a Saber for 5. Dakotah just choosing to block out with 6 here. Ryan did get to swing twice this turn. Gets to take the counter off of his dynamos here and get an arsenal out of this turn. Pretty great turn for Ryan, able to swing the tempo back in his favor. Dakotah effectively has to take a turn off. Doesn't even get to tick up his tunic counter because it's already full. Dakotah draws up, and Ryan's going to fire in with a 5-card hand. Dakotah really struggling with the Katsu hands here. Getting some very clunky hands, having no go again, getting a lot of combo chains here. We see Ryan capitalizing on it, playing a slice and dice here, a red one. Gonna buff up both sword swings this turn. Ryan's got 5 cards, had 5 cards available to him at the start of this turn, so we should see 2 sword swings out of this, getting full value out of the slice and dice, provided he's got a source to go again. Checking his arsenal here. Checking his bin. Maybe potentially thinking about turning on Kassai's ability. We see a blood on her hands here. Blowing up his coppers here, we might see a pretty big turn on Orion here. I don't know if he had enough to turn on all modes, but he is going to buff up his swords pretty significantly here, it looks like. Gonna blow up a gold. To draw a card, turning on Kassai's ability, the sword attacks are going to be for free this turn. This is set to be a pretty big turn from Kassai. A little bit of checking here. Dakotah asking some clarifying questions about that slice and dice. Ryan's got a resource flooding. His sword attacks are going to be discounted this turn, and he's got that blood on her hands, potentially giving him the ability to swing multiple times with swords this turn. We see another slice and dice and a Goblet of Bloodline being played, generating some tokens here. Uh, Activating Kassai's ability as well. Going to give these on hits. Going to try and force Dakotah to block out with his hand here, putting some on hits, threatening to generate some more gold for raising army or drawing cards off of another, say, blood on her hands to make another big turn, effectively another Courage of Bladehold turn. We see a Centauri Saber coming in here. Now the players need to remember that these are going to be buffed up quite significantly off of those two slice and dices. Threatening a gold. So this Saber, I believe, is coming in for 4 here off of those slice and dices. It depends on what mode Ryan chose for the blood on her hands. It's at least getting 2 from the slice and dice, so we do see a Saber for 4 coming in with Go Again, I believe. Or Ryan will have to give it Go Again. Again, just depends on what Ryan chose for the blood on her hands. Threatening a gold on hit here. Saber coming in for 4. Saber pretty annoying to block as Katsu as well. It buffs itself on you blocking with your attack actions. And Ninja's known for having 2 block attack actions here, so this might pull multiple cards or maybe some cards in a piece of equipment from Dakotah here. Now, this is where Ryan wants to be. He wants to pressure Dakotah pretty hard, make sure Dakotah can't pull off any big turns here, and really punish any Katsu hands that Dakotah might have. And here we go. We see Dakotah thinking about using the mask, potentially taking away a big section of a Bond's turn here. This is pretty disastrous if he has to block with it. This Mask of the Pouncing Link's pretty crucial to Katsu's gameplay in here if they want really, really big turns. Dakotah taking a second here to consider the consequences of blocking, really trying to figure out how much damage Ryan's going to represent on this turn versus how much damage he can fire off on his turn. There is maybe a world where Dakotah blocks this out. There's also a world where Dakotah takes all of this. It really just depends on the contents of his hands. Dakotah chooses to block 6 here, I believe. The Lorda wins and something else. Blocks out, and then he blocks out the other one as well. The Hot Streak. And also has to block with his Mask of the Pouncing Lynx as well. This is a great turn for Ryan here. Uh, Ryan pulling a lot of Katsu's resources. Dakotah's got a card in Arsenal, so he's effectively going to have a very poor turn on his next time around. Ryan has the luxury of maybe being able to set up here, set up an Arsenal, and sit back and pressure again on the next turn. He might be able to leak some damage, and he has a resource floating, 1 card in hand. Ryan chooses to set up an Arsenal and just sit back, let Dakotah draw up, and come in with another 5-card hand um, on his next turn here. Dakotah having to block out 2 turns in a row and losing his Mask of the Pouncing Lynx here. Ryan in a pretty commanding position despite the life total differences. Dakotah not getting much of an offense in these past few turns. Dakotah draws up here. Ryan pitches a blue. He's got that Mike token or that agility token, so he's gonna have Go Again on his first sword swing here. Considers the card an arsenal, potentially a front pump. Ryan very carefully thinking through his turn here, wanting to make sure not to make any mistakes that might allow Dakotah to get back into this. Um, Dakotah has 5 cards here. If he can go into his turn not having to block, having a 5-card hand, he is set to. Ooh, and we see a Nourishing Emptiness coming in. This will be with Dominate here, threatening to give Ryan a setup for a huge turn here. This will be a Nourishing with Go Again as well off of that Agility token. This is not what Dakotah wanted to see here. This is a devastating on hit that Dakotah really needs to respect. As we've seen, Kassai is capable, if she has the big hands, is capable of pushing a lot of damage. Dakotah makes me eat my words, doesn't respect it at all, takes 6 here, and Ryan has 2 resources floating to be able to keep going in this combat chain. See a hot streak come in here. Ryan representing 2 floating resources here, according to his metal fab token there. This is a hot streak for 2. Dakotah deck is primarily attack actions here, threatening to give free go again to hot streak. Ryan has a card in hand, a card in arsenal as well. So there's a high potential that Ryan can just give this hot streak go again anyways. Instead, we see an attack reaction, buffing it up, giving it +3. Dakotah taking 5 here, but he will be coming back with a 5-card hand. Or taking 4 here. It must have been a yellow attack reaction. Oh, no, that was a 5. So 16-14 in Ryan's favor here. Dakotah ready to come back in with a full grip plus an arsenal and a fully charged tunic. Ryan did get that intelligence increase off of the Nourishing Emptiness though, so he's set to have a huge turn or at least be able to block out Dakotah pretty heavily here. See a Vigor token here. And we see a Surging Strike from Dakotah, potentially setting up for a Bond's turn. The Surging Strike for 4, it's a yellow one, has Go Again naturally. Ryan's got to decide if he wants to block it out or not. We see a Sink Below from Arsenal, blocking out that Surging Strike, denying Dakotah the ability to use Katsu's ability to tutor up for a card, forcing him to have either a Whelming or a Descendant Gust Wave. Here you go, had the Whelming Gust Wave for 4 here with Go Again, threatening to draw a card on hit. Ryan has 5 cards in hand. Has to consider whether or not he is okay with Dakotah drawing a card here. Is he willing to give up 2 cards to keep Dakotah off of drawing a card and potentially activating Katsu? Ryan blocking 4 exactly here. Now he's in the realm of maybe an ancestral empowerment or something like that, giving the buff up. Or potentially the breaking scales here, blocking 4 exactly. Dangerous position to be in. Depends on how badly Dakotah wants to draw this card and activate Katsu's ability. Dakotah considering his options here. 1 card in hand. Is going to buff this up to 5. Now, does Ryan have an attack reaction or a defense reaction? Dakotah does manage to hit. It's going to activate Katsu's ability here. Got to decide how he wants to layer the effects. Looks like he's going to draw a card first and then go through with Katsu's ability. Layering these triggers here. Looking to make the most out of this turn, claw his way back into the game. Looks like he has a choice on which card to discard here. Very carefully thinking through his turn. Has a resource floating, has a resource on that tunic. He's going to Art of War in response to the Katsu trigger. Gonna banish, draw two, and give a pump. Looking to filter his hand. Doesn't have that Mask of the Pouncing Links to help him set up a turn here, so he's really digging to get as much of the combo as he can. Still hasn't used the Katsu ability yet. Very technical turn here coming from Dakotah. Trying to get his lines as best he can to maximize the amount of damage he can get here. Has the Art of War, so he really wants to keep this chain going. Still deciding what card he wants to pitch for Fi. Gets rid of an Enlightened Strike here. Gonna go dig. Hasn't picked up his deck yet. Really thinking this one through. It's a pretty complex situation he's into. Considering maybe activating his Breeze Rider boots on this turn as well. Still has this Katsu ability on the stack. Talking through his turn. He is tutoring now. Very complicated turn. Like I said, Dakotah's new on this particular version of the deck, borrowing putting Tam's list. Looks like he is grabbing a Descendant Gustwave. Shuffling up here. Ryan still has quite the grip to block with, coming off of that Nourishing Emptiness turn. Dakotah looking to pressure as much of that as he can. Has played a Bonds of Ancestry here. Bonds will be coming in for 5, and Dakotah's going to banish and tutor up another card here. Looking like a pretty explosive turn, albeit a complex one. Ryan opting to take 5, down to 10 life. Dakotah has searched up a Bonds. Has searched up a Bonds. And here we go. We see a Descendant Gustwave coming in for 4 here. This will have go again off of that tunic counter. Ryan blocks, takes 1. Here comes the Bonds. This is Bonds coming in for 5. He's going to banish, and we're going to see another tutor effect here. Get a wide. Got a pretty wide combat chain going here. Ryan still has 3 cards in hand. This was one of the very unfortunate time for Dakotah to have to do this because Ryan had just so many cards to be able to block with. We are getting close to time in the round, which is pretty ironic because I was talking about how fast this game was supposed to go at the beginning here. Dakotah looking to threaten Dishonor here. Gonna strip the rest of the cards from Ryan's hand. pretty close game. It's pretty cool how effectively Dakotah was able to get back into this after having to take off 2 turns. And now we have a Dishonor coming in for 5, threatening to shut off Kassai's hero ability for the rest of the game. See block for 6 out of Ryan here. Dakotah just arsenals and passes the turn. Huge turn from Dakotah here. Not quite enough to take Ryan's entire hand, but Ryan was playing off of a Nourishing Emptiness turn. We'll see if Ryan gets a turn out of this or if Dakotah can keep pressing the attack here. We are getting very close to time in the round. Unfortunately, this match might come up in a draw. See Ryan swinging in with that hot streak. Has 1 card in hand. Dakotah just opting to take the damage, not blocking, not turning on that hot streak to give it go again. And Ryan arsenals here. We have had Judge Dillon in the room. I'm not entirely sure. It's unclear if Dakotah is going to get another turn or not. Looks like he is. So he's got to close the game out here. Ryan at 4 has 5 cards. We do know Ryan runs defense reactions in this deck. We have seen quite a bit here. We see a Surging Strike come in. This is a must block. And Ryan does. Ryan obliges. Dakotah peels 2 cards. You got to wonder if Ryan arsenaled a defense reaction or not here. Otherwise, Dakotah is fully capable of leaking 4 damage. We see an Enlightened Strike, bottoming a card. This is an Enlightened Strike for 7, and unfortunately, we're going to see a tie here. Dakotah not having quite enough damage in his hand to be able to threaten the final 4 points of life. What a grindy game, folks. What a grindy game. Really complex turns out of both players. Both players played well. Dakotah learning a new deck here. New list to him. But yeah, quite the grindy game. That's 2 in a row. We've got one more round remaining in our tournament here at Gamers Gambit in Lake City, Michigan. We're all getting ready for our ProQuest coming up on May 4th as we head into round 3. And back in the booth here, we will do a quick interview while we switch between rounds. I think you're good to go. We'll see. Hit that mute button on the side of your mic right there. Here, I'll hit it for you. Go ahead talking to that. Let's see if it picks you up. All right, I'll hit the button. They can hear you on mine. But all right, so how about you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell everybody what you're playing tonight, and how the rounds have been going for you so far.
I'm John. I play Dorinthia right now. I had a tough matchup against Dakotah's Katsu. He was able to squeak by with a win. And then I just played against a Fatigue Victor, and I did beat him with my Dorinthia deck.
Are you on hatchets or are you on big axe?
Hatchets right now.
Hatchets Dorinthia, very cool, very cool. How are you liking that deck so far? That's kind of a newer deck to the meta, coming in after the Pro Tour.
I actually really like the mid range aspect to be able to block with 2 cards and then swing back with my hatchets. Being able to swing my axe with 2, using like a Blade Runner, and coming with 4 or 5 or 6, getting my Valid Dynamos back, getting lots of extra value, and then I'm able to capitalize on a lot of extra points.
Yeah, those dynamos are really important. They effectively just gain you 1 life every time you get to swing twice, and then it really lets you grind into some of these. A lot of these guardians, a lot of these other mid-range decks really lets you hang in there and then eventually pull off big turns. How many 3 swing turns have you had this or tonight?
I've had, I think, 3 or 4 of them. Unfortunately, I did get dishonored by Dakotah, which he was able to effectively take away 2 of my third swing of my axes. So 6 points of value effectively with a dishonor. So that was huge. So I thought I blocked enough. I blocked 5 on his 4, but he had ancestral empowerment and breaking scales,
Uh-huh.
which he put put it over.
Yeah, not much you can do about that.
Right,
Sometimes they just have it.
right. And then against the Victor, I think it was his first time playing the deck, but I was able to leak damage on my second hatchet a couple of times. So my second hatchet only came in for 2, or my third hatchet, but it was still enough to leak even more damage in.
Yeah, well, good luck in the rest of your rounds. It looks like we're getting ready to pair round 3. So
All right.
thanks
Thank
for
you.
jumping on the commentary with me. All right, folks, and we are getting ready to pair into round 3. We're going to take a quick peek on the gameplay area, see who's set to play here. Dakotah's still cleaning up his deck here, but I believe that's head judge Dillon's play, Matt. We may see, is it possible we're seeing a Katsu versus a Teklo in our final match of the round? So yeah, only 3 rounds tonight, folks. Just me on the mic as well. Kittens is out of town, but we've seen some pretty grindy games this evening. A lot of value plays, a lot of complex plays as we get ready for our Pro Quest coming up on the 4th. And it does look like we are going to see a Teklovossen here paired up against Dakotah on Katsu. Again, we're going to run the Katsu back. So Dakotah, same equipment loadout, got the harmonized Kadachis, my favorite weapon in the game, paired up with Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, a Findall Spring Tunic, Breaking Scales, and Breeze Rider Boots. Looking to go for a 3 bonds turn here, the mythical 3 bonds turn, hoping to uh, just overwhelm Teklo here with aggro. So the game plan's here. Dakotah's looking to go as fast as he can, overwhelm Teklovossen, and keep him off of setting up his equipment. Once Teklo sets up the fridge, it'll be a lot harder for Dakotah to push his on hits, be able to search his deck with Katsu, and so on. Dillon's game plan here, head judge Dillon, he's looking to block as much as he can, get his armor set up, maybe go for a big singularity, but he's looking to stay alive as long as possible, start to push Dakotah and really punish any Katsu hands. Now, last round we did see Dakotah struggle with some clunkier hands with having like middle or end of combo lines, not a lot of starters. So Dillon is really looking to just really punish that sort of play from Katsu whenever he can. And in the meantime, he wants to set up those Evos. If he can set up those Evos, he has a better chance of staying alive, a better chance of blocking out Katsu's on hits, and really turning Katsu's hero ability as best he can. Those Evos are just like gaining life every time he plays them. So he's looking to set one up early. Maybe win a die roll, use turn 0 to really set it up. We got both players here going for a pile shuffle here, counting out their cards. I don't think we'll see this come to fatigue, but stranger things have happened tonight. We did just see a Katsu go to full time in the round. So as the players shuffle up here, feel free to chime in and chat. We've had some good discussion, some good corrections come through as well. Go ahead and feel free to give me your Part the Mistvale predictions here. What do we think about Zen? What do we think about New? What do we think about our new illusionist whose name's escaping me coming up? Are we excited? Are we not excited? I do believe that there will be a pre-release here at Gamers Gambit that'll be advertised on their Facebook. Uh, we'd love to have you come out and join us. So we got Dillon ready here, presented his cut, keeping his equipment a secret. Looks like he's not bringing in the full pile, but we'll see if he manages to here. And no surprises here. We see the Teklo leveler. We see a full set of Cogworks. Between rounds, they did confirm that is a cold foiled out set of Cogworks here. Dillon loves to bring the bling. Known Dromai player, known to have all the Marvel Dragons and so on. And we'll see what Dakotah's got cooked up. There was a little bit of pre-boarding action here. We'll see if Dakotah opted to take out defense reactions, just go for all in aggro, if he's going to respect things like Command and Conquer and War Machines and so on. Anybody in chat? We do have a poll pulled up. I'll vote in that. No shame. I'm really excited for Zen. I guess my second choice would probably be new. I've always liked Assassins, but I've never really gotten a chance to play one outside of Sealed. So Dakotah finishing up, shuffling up here, and we'll be ready to go. Looking to overwhelm Teklovossen as best as he can. Talking about the Lions here, I see Dillon showing Dakotah the new Lions jerseys. Those look really slick for any sports fans out there. Uh, Black and blue, looking great. Really pushing the whole brawler, tough guy aesthetic that the Lions have been going for under Dan Campbell recently. So Dillon not playing his typical deck. He is a Teklo enjoyer. Has been playing KO lately. Doing a little bit of experimenting, having a little fun. Isn't really focused on preparing so much for the upcoming ProQuest. He will be head judging here. But Dakotah learning a new list here, trying out putting Tam's list from the recent calling. And it looks like we're ready to go. Dillon's got a hand of 4. Dakotah's drawing up. And it looks like Dillon has the play here. Going to activate Teklovossen's ability. Pitching a couple of cards. Putting a Fabricate into the bottom of his deck. Opting not to do anything with Teklo's ability either. And just using that to filter his hand. Not attacking into the Katsu, not letting Katsu filter his hand, find his good combo lines here. It's a pretty heads up play by Dillon, and he gets to sit on an arsenal going into this turn, potentially arsenaling a piece of equipment or something that he wants to play further down the road to really press Katsu, make him so he can't play off of the 5-card hands that we know ninjas want to play. It'll be interesting to see here as we watch Dakotah navigate playing against more of a mid-rangey value deck into a pretty defensive Teklo deck here. We'll be able to. It's nice having him on the tables back to back to be able to see what sort of game plan shifts we can observe this time around. We do have the players' deck lists available to us tonight, so we should be able to keep track of who's on what and what's being played. Here, Dakotah thinking through his turn. Dillon's placed his hand down, playing calm, cool, and collected. Waiting to see what Katsu's here. Close personal friends, these two have played against each other a lot. So we might see some shorthand here, but we'll definitely see a good display of sportsmanship. We see a surging strike here. Now we'll see what side of the line Dillon falls on. Do you block out the surging strike or do you save it for what's coming up next? We see a Fabricate being played, banishing a Towers, drawing a card, smoothing out his hand a little bit. Dakotah asking to read it. That's fair. Teklo, not necessarily a meta deck right now, but it is an interesting deck to play. He's going to buff up his defense as well, it looks like. Dillon really considering here whether or not he wants to block out this surging strike or whether he's going to take the 5 damage and give Katsu the ability to potentially dig here. We see a double block from Dillon. We see a natural whelming coming up here, and this is what I've been talking about, whether you block out the surging or you save cards and wait for the whelming. Dillon has a Fate Foreseen in an arsenal, skips straight to the defense reaction steps. He's going to choose to bottom off of that Fate Foreseen, and he covers up this whelming. Dakotah has to consider whether or not he really, really wants to draw this card off of this whelming, or if he's comfortable with just letting that be blocked out and following up with another attack. That's looking like he's choosing to do that. And we see him coming in for 4 again here. Really looking to leak a little bit of damage. And that's the name of the game for Dakotah and Katsu here, is he really wants to leak damage here before Teklo is able to set up their fridge, keep Teklo off of hands where he'll be able to play his equipment. And really just add on to the pressure as best he can. Dillon opting to take 4 here, has a card in hand, and you got to wonder if it's going to be a card that he plays or if he's just going to set up an arsenal and pass on to the next turn, keeping a 5-card hand. And Dillon does exactly that. He arsenals and draws up. Going to go into this next turn with a 5-card hand, assuming Dakotah doesn't pressure him too hard. Dakotah playing a 4-card hand here. We'll see if he's got some starters. He ticks up his tunic and plays 100 wins. This is a red 100 wins. It's coming in for 3 with go again. Now, Dillon still has to potentially respect this. He wants to see if, wants to make sure Katsu doesn't get his on hit here. He's going to put a card in front. Blocks it out. And we'll see an Enlightened Strike. It's being an Enlightened Strike for 7. Dakotah looking for a setup turn here. Preserves a card in hand, and it looks like he's edging it towards his arsenal. This is vanilla 7, but Teklo is looking to preserve as much life as possible until he can get his Evos online here. We'll probably see some blocks. See a Fate Foreseen here? Opting. Chooses to keep it on top. And Dakotah leaks 3. Bringing the life totals 40 to 33. And this is where Dakotah wants to be. He wants to keep pressuring Dillon's life total. He wants to get in as much damage as you can before the pesky equipment gets in the way. And we see Dillon preserving 2 cards, taking a little bit extra damage to be able to play his Evo Steel Soul Tower. Now, Tower, Temper 3, set to effectively gain Dillon a bunch of life here and really make Katsu's on hits that he represents negligible. We see it be like water, speaking of on hits here. He has a full tunic counter, so he doesn't have to waste a card in hand to activate its ability. Dakotah plays an Ancestral Empowerment, gets to draw a card and potentially force through an on hit, assuming Dillon doesn't have any defense reactions. And we'll wonder if he uses this this on hit to 1, activate Katsu. Oh, and there's the defense reaction from Arsenal. Dakotah still managed to cycle a card effectively, but Dillon really not wanting to let that be like water on hit effect come off. He wants to keep Dakotah off of being able to tutor up combo pieces. Dakotah follows that up with another Be Like Water and then an E-Strike for 7 here. This is going to leak a little bit more damage potentially. Yeah, we see Dillon take 4 here, blocks 3, keeps a card in hand. And Dakotah just steadily threatening Dillon's life total, bringing him down, hoping to get in as much as he can before these equipments come down. We see Dillon go ahead and scrap. It looks like an Evo, the chess piece there. So this is an attack coming in for 1. Dakotah blocking 1 with breaking scales here, just getting free life out of it, and potentially signaling to Dillon that he's looking to use these breaking scales on his next turn. Maybe signaling the potential bonds turn coming up here. We'll see if that was just a heads up play on Dakotah or a really conservative life total management play. We see a surging strike here, pitching a fluster fist, floating a resource here. We see Dillon covering that up with equipment, forcing Dakotah to have it, as they say, have the natural whelming or descendant gust wave. And we do see a natural whelming gust wave here. So whelming coming in for 2, though, but is threatening an on-hit. This is an annoying block if you're Dillon, because you're not getting full value out of your card here, but you are stopping the on-hit draw card and the on-hit Katsu trigger. So Dillon blocks. Dakotah has 2 cards remaining. We see a Bonds. Bonds coming in for 3. It's going to go ahead and tutor. And Bonds, man, what a card. It's really turned Katsu into quite the aggressive deck versus kind of the more mid-rangey, kind of puzzly deck that he used to be. Now he's just an all-out assault. Banishes that 100 wins and grabs another one here. Gonna look to extend the combat chain as long as he can possibly go, and maybe potentially threatening tenacity or something like that here off of the massive pouncing links, assuming he gets to hit. We do see a hit here, so Dakotah's got to decide now if he's going to use Katsu's ability or he's going to use the pouncing links mask. And it looks like he opts not to. We see a Kadachi coming in here. It's a Kadachi for 1. Dillon opting to take 1, going down to 25. See a Winds of Eternity coming in for 3. Quite the combat chain here. This is a big turn from Dakotah. Dillon's trying his best to keep as much life total as he can here. Going down to 22, really holding on to these cards in hand. We see a Fluster Fist coming in for 4 to end off the chain here. We see a Sink Below cleanly covering that up. Pretty impressive turn out of Dakotah here. Really high damage. Bonds really doing the work to extend the combat chain as much as it can. Dillon was able to keep some cards in hand though, so we'll see what he does. Just chooses to Arsenal here and draw up. And this is where Dakotah wants to be. He wants to keep Dillon off of these equipments, and the best way to do that is strip cards from his hand so he can't pay for them. So we'll see if Dakotah can capitalize on getting a free turn here. See Dakotah thinking about his lines here. Katsu is a tough deck to play just because your sequencing matters so much, and this is a new list to him. See, pitching a War to Winds here to Kadachi for 1. Now, these Kadachis are annoying. They're going to always leak a little bit of life unless Dillon wants to make a inefficient block. And leaking life is what Katsu wants to do in this matchup. He wants to make that equipment count for as little as possible. Dillon goes down to 20 here. Hasn't threatened any damage to Dakotah this game. All right. See Dakotah coming in for 4 here. Coming in for 4 off of a Mugenshi release. Maybe looking to line up a looking to line up a Breeze Rider Boots turn here. Or maybe he's got a clunky hand again. He's been falling victim to those. Dillon covers it up completely with a Sink Below. Dakotah does have the option to use Breaking Skills potentially here if he wants to continue this turn. Opts not to, just opts to let Dillon have 3 cards, falling victim to another clunky Katsu hand again. We'll see what Dillon could do with the rest of this turn. Teklo wants to keep cards at hand to play equipment, but if he can't, no, he does. He opts to play the uh, Evo chest here, the Evo Steel Soul processor here, effectively gaining him a bunch of life and further making blocking Katsu's on hits more trivial. And this isn't what you want to see as Katsu. You want to keep Dillon off of these Evos for as long as you possibly can, just to make your on hits mean that much more. Teklovossen gaining life here basically off of getting those Evo blocks is really annoying, and you want to shut that down for as long as possible. See a Descendant Gust Wave coming in here? So Descendant Gust Wave for 3 with Go again. Threatening the Katsu ability here if Dillon decides to let it hit. Dillon's got 5 cards available to him, 1 in arsenal, 4 in hand. Has been playing pretty conservatively here, looking to block as much as he can. Opts to block for 5 here. Really doesn't want Dakotah to be able to Katsu. He's going to force him to have it naturally. And this is what I was talking about Dakotah's on hits being a little more trivial the more pieces of armor Dillon has available to him. We see a Bond's coming in for 4 here. Dakotah banishing a 100 Winds, looking to extend the chain again. 100 Winds is a great include in this deck list as far as I'm concerned. I'm a known 100 Winds apologist, and this game has really shown why 100 Winds being able to extend your combat chain, being a ninja attack with Go Again just stapled on the card, but also combo, so it's tutorable, is very important. It doesn't need anything to go with it. If you can string together multiple 100 Winds, that's great. Dillon activating Teklo's ability here to play an Evo Steel Soul memory as well, and this is not ideal if you're Dakotah. You don't want to see all those pieces of equipment coming down. It's going to make your life a lot harder. Makes your life a lot harder when it comes to pushing on hits. Dakotah double checking what the Cogworks ability is. Dillon going ahead and blocking with a Liquid Cooled Mayhem. Having a little bit of discussion here. These two are testing partners, so we're getting a little bit of an insight into how testing goes. Having conversations with each other, making sure that they understand their decks completely. Dakotah getting ready for the ProQuest, Dillon a judge, so he's a great resource, great person to test with here. Getting ready for our ProQuest coming up on the 4th. If you're in the chat and you're planning on participating in the ProQuest, shoot me a message. Let me know. Let me know if you're excited. Let me know your predictions for Pro Dromai meta. This will be the first weekend of ProQuests coming in here since Dromai has bit the dust, as it were. So let me know what you think. What are your hot takes going into this new meta? If you're feeling brave, what are you planning on bringing to the ProQuest? You don't have to share your list or anything, but a hero might be cool to know. I'm impartial. I'll be on commentary alongside Kittens for the ProQuest here. So you'll have double the announcers. We're looking forward to interviewing people between rounds as they win, and eventually interviewing our ProQuest champion when it comes up at the end of the day. So Dakotah using Katsu's ability here to tutor. Leaked a point of damage on that bonds, and he's going for a double bonds turn here. Or, yeah, going for a double bonds turn. We see a Link's Mask was popped as well, and that grabs the Descendant. So, yeah, we're going to see a double bonds turn here. hoping to leak as much damage as we can now that Dillon's got 3 pieces of equipment set up here. Now, it'll be very interesting to see if Dillon can actually manage to stay alive long enough to set up a full suit and be able to hit a singularity. We've already seen him do it once tonight on stream. It would be really cool to see him do it a second time. It really depends on how much damage Dakotah can push. Now he's in a situation where he really wants to push as much damage as possible. He was hoping to be even further ahead than he is now on the life total score before Dillon managed to make it to 3 pieces of equipment. These equipments make blocking a lot easier for Dillon, and when you're playing Ninja, you want blocking to be as annoying as possible for your opponent um, whenever you can force it. So Dillon opting to take 2 here, has no cards in hand, but it wants to save his equipment for potential on hits further down the road. We see a Bonds. Bonds comes in for 4. Dillon preserving some life total, blocks with the helm. It's going to leak 1 point of damage there. Puts a temper counter on it for future turns for Dakotah. Dakotah's pretty happy to pull an equipment block, even though he's not necessarily super happy to see it happen. Bonds is going to go ahead and grab a Fluster Fist as well, so we're looking at 7 more damage coming Dillon's way this turn. This is still going to be a huge damage turn for Katsu, even though Dillon was able to equip another one of his Evos here, but Dakotah's probably still not happy to see so many Evos come down. Looks like Breeze Rider boots have been broken as well here. Kadachi's for 1. Dillon takes 1. See 100 wins coming here for 3. 3 is cleanly covered up by the processor. We'll see a Winds of Eternity coming in for 4. It does have go again because of the Breeze Rider boots, and we see another 4 damage coming at Dillon from the Fluster Fist. That brings Dillon down to 7. It's 40-7 here, and I know I've been talking a lot about how the equipment's annoying for Dakotah here, but Dillon really has to start pushing some threats across the table. Otherwise, Dakotah might run away with this one, even with the equipment there. Big wide turns like that, that Katsu can threaten really. Could put a cramp in Dillon's style. Now, granted, that used up a lot of Dakotah's resources, pulled his mask, pulled his boots. But if any heroes are capable of leaking damage, it is ninjas. And at 7 life, you don't want to get to the point where you're Kadachi locked, making terrible blocking choices when it comes to having to block 1 damage with 3, for example. So we see Dakotah coming for 3 here on a Descendant Gust Wave. Dillon blocks for 3, and Dakotah has the Art of War. Pitches a Lord of Wind here, banishing a Dishonor to draw 2 here, and pumps that damage up to 4. Leaks a damage, and this is what I was talking about with leaking. We see Katsu using Dakotah using the Katsu ability here on the hit, banishing or discarding a card and looking to tutor up a Bonds to play here. Double checking that was the right color strip for Bonds. Making sure he didn't have another one he wanted to grab instead. Double checking his graveyard as well. Looking like there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. Maybe Dakotah put a card in incorrectly in his graveyard. Not quite sure what's going on in there, but rest assured, Head Judge Dillon is playing in the game, so if anybody knows how to handle a situation, it'll be Dillon. Dakotah has a Bonds banished here, ready to play this turn, presents his deck for a cut, and we were looking to see maybe another big turn out of Dakotah. Just needs to leak 6 more points of damage, but he has to get through all of that armor that Dillon has been able to set up so far. Follows that up with a Bonds here. Dillon blocks the damage, but Dakotah's going to go grab a Descendant Gust Wave, threatening a double Bonds turn. Looking to go pretty wide on this combat chain, and having the Art of War set up is going to just increase the value of all of his attack actions this turn. Despite some of the clunkier hands Dakotah's had tonight, he has been able to put together some pretty impressive bonds turns, stringing together multiple bonds in one turn. We haven't seen the mythical 3 bonds turn yet, but we've gotten pretty close. I'd say the MVP of Dakotah's deck so far has to be, in my opinion, 100 wins, just extending those combat chains super wide, enabling a lot of damage turns on non-bonds turns. But I know most people say that it's been Bonds of Eternity. You know, it's okay to have boring picks for MVP. Uh, we see a Command and Conquer come down to block that Descendant Gust Wave. That leaks a damage for Dakotah. Dillon down to 5 to Dakotah's 40 here. Dillon has not been able to put up much of an offense, just been on a defensive game. Really a terrible matchup for Teklovossen, despite being able to set up 3 pieces of equipment. Very impressive and resilient on Dillon's part here, but we're going to see a Bonds come in for 5, and that's going to pull 2 pieces of equipment, putting another temper counter on them. And you got to wonder if Dillon will be able to refresh those equipment at all for the rest of this game, or if Dakotah's just got to grind down the temper as best he can. Checking in on our poll we had a little bit ago, it looks like we got one person, me, excited for Zen, and one person excited for Enigma. If you're hanging out in chat, feel free to chime in there and explain why, or talk about your predictions, talk about the matchup. I'd love to chat with you. Sarah's not here, or Kitten's not here tonight, so it's just Goose flying solo. That Kadachi leaks the damage, and we're gonna see a Flusterfist come in for 5. See Teklovossen's ability come up here, but it doesn't really matter. Dillon trapped with a no block in his hand, and Dakotah is able to pull this one out off of a double bonds turn. So that'll be our last round for tonight, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I'm aware. Very interesting. I think we'll probably pull Dakotah into the booth here before we wrap up stream. But thanks for watching. I'll go grab Dakotah. We'll see if we can't get a quick interview. All right, so I think we just need to hit this button. It probably went to sleep again, but put it on and let's see if it works. You should hear mute unmute on this button. All right, well, we've got the winner of the last round, Dakotah, here in the booth with me. If you can't hear him through his mic, you'll probably hear him through mine. So, Katsu, you got some Katsu hands early on, but it looks like it paid out in the long run, flawlessing this Teklo here.
Yeah, is this working at all?
I don't think it is. There you go. You're muted. Now you're unmuted. Okay. So yeah, Katsu hands, a little clunkiness here early on, and looks like it really bugged you in Ryan's game with that, but looks like it paid off in the end, flawlessing a Teklo here.
I think that's what's really cool about Pudding's list is that those hands block so well, those Katsu hands block so well because you're minimizing the 2 blocks. So even when you draw those, you can figure some things out. And I think against Dillon, I was taking the plan to set up for future turns because I knew it was going to be kind of pointless to just throw like 13 damage hands into his 12 block hands.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart heads up play. I did mention that you're on a newer list. I mean, you've been playing Katsu forever, but it's impressive to see somebody go through and learn a new list as they go.
Yeah, and I think the turn where I had the 2 blues, a Magnate and a Descendant, and I chose to just go Kadachi, or I had 2 blues, a Descendant, and a Magnate, and I chose to go Kadachi, Magnate, and then just Arsenal the Descendant for a future turn. Felt like one of those turns where it's I don't want to put weak damage into this guy to just let him, just let him block it out.
No, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So we had this debate in chat. MVP of the deck tonight. I have an opinion. My opinion is it's 100 wins. You use that 100 wins off of bonds to really extend some combat chains, leak a lot of damage where you wouldn't necessarily have. I'm just a huge fan of something having combo and go again
Yeah,
unconditionally
that
on
felt
it.
really good. Um, that 100 wins felt really good, especially in that game. Um, and then I think Flick Flack is always like always something for MVP too, because I think in the Kassai game, being able to flick and then being able to flick that card, flick the first attack, and then block for higher on the second is huge. And I don't know, Flicker 100 wins were both really good. E-Strike felt awesome in the Teklo game too, to be able
One of
to
the
have some flexibility there.
one of the best cards of the game. So you've been on Teklo or not Teklo, you've been on Katsu for ages and ages. What about Katsu just makes you really gets you going? I know for a while there, you and I experimented with Phi quite a bit.
Yeah,
But what keeps bringing you back to Katsu?
I like the ability to kind of put together combos, because every hand almost feels like you're playing like a mini combo deck, because you're trying to figure out the way to best utilize all the cards. I like that he's an aggro deck that can block surprisingly well. Like like in my Kassai game, I felt like I was blocking really really well with the hands that I was presented, and so you know, he can do the aggro part where he saw where I was going really wide or dealing 20 plus damage in a turn, but that he can also block really well, which is I think that.
So let's talk that Kasai game real quick. That turn where you had that multi-layer of triggers with the Katsu and the Lynx Mask and Art of War in response to the Katsu as well there. That was a really complex turn. What was going through your head on that, or were you just kind of going with it?
I think this turned off again here, but should I say goodbye?
Yeah.
But no, what happened there was I was playing. If you could probably tell, I was playing that game very carefully. I was not trying to overextend and get blacked out. And so when he blocked the surging, I figured I would save the Art of War for the whelming to try to get the draw effect. And then when he blocked it and gave it one over and gave me the ability to use breaking skills, the thought was okay. I want to save this Art of War because I don't want to play the Art of War to bump it up again and then have him just de-react and not let me draw a card, and then I draw bad off the Art of War and I'm stuck with a hand I don't really like. And so I figured I'll take my draw from my whelming, kind of understand what's going on, and then I was going to Katsu, and I was like, you know what? I think I want even more information because now I know I'm going to use my Art of War, so I might as well, before I Katsu here, let's go ahead and see what I draw into and see if there's something I want to get rid of. Other than I think I ended up getting rid of the E-Strike. Other than the E-Strike, and I think it ended up working out. I ended up going pretty wide. It was not wide enough to win the game like I was hoping, but I think having to use my mask to block really sucks.
Yeah, we talked about that in the booth here. I was like, if Ryan can manage to make Dakotah blocks with that Lynx Mask, that's bad news for the Katsu.
We talked a lot about it in there because I think it was the right play because I ended up stopping him from generating a bigger token and a gold token off that hit, which I feel like that's a ton of value for Kassai.
Yeah.
Have those two tokens and be able to go into his next turn with me having not a great hand, plus he has a gold token and two bigger tokens, and I think he has an agility token too. And it was like, gosh, if I like I'm just gonna get overrun here, and so I think that it ended up being a pretty good value. It just sucks I didn't have it for a tenacity in that last turn.
Yeah. All right. Well, right on, and congrats on your win, going 40-0 against that against that Teklo. That'll do it for stream tonight. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Just one couple of last plugs here. Our ProQuest is coming up on May 4th here at Gamers Gambit in downtown Lake City, Michigan. It's looking to be a barn burner of an event. Please feel free to come in, show up, participate. The store is a great place, and it'll be a great time. It will be casted. You'll have myself and Kittens on the mic. Other than that, have a great great rest of your evening, and we'll get out of here. This is Goose signing off.